Hello and welcome to the Tracy McGrady episode of the Hoop Theory Podcast, aka episode 62. My name is Logan Wertman, and as usual, I am joined by my clean co-host, Jacob Roth. We're recording this on the evening of Monday, October 30th. Jacob, how does it feel to be on the Tracy McGrady episode?
It feels great. It feels really good, actually. Tracy McGrady, all-time. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that I feel like is all-time, but like gets forgotten about first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think maybe it's because of partly the era he played in, where it was like the weird end of Jordan, pre-Kobe being like, I am Kobe, but then he like trickled in that. So I think it's just kind of like that weird, where there might have never been a year where he was the best shooting guard, but he was always up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a real Kobe versus T-Mac debate early on in their careers. I think mainly it was just like T-Mac was never on a great team, and he struggled with like injury luck and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Also, he just didn't have the Lakers brand.
Yeah, too. Mm-hmm.
To be a big part of it. And obviously, I think in the long run, Kobe's longevity is one of the big pieces that I think makes him like even in that conversation even more because of how long he was. Because you can't count all 20 years as like great basketball because it wasn't. At the end, it was just like, that's a veteran that's kind of just still playing.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you go back and like, obviously there was 15 to 16 really, really good Kobe years.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was very few where he was on the downhill, quote unquote. I think that's a big piece of it.
For sure. And it kind of pained me to actually pick Tracy McGrady for this one because initially the first guy my mind goes to for 62 points, career high, is obviously my guy, Carmelo Anthony. But we already did him for episode 7, and Tracy McGrady, I looked up like who else has their career high at 62. I was like, well, T-Mac doesn't have his own episode yet, so it would feel wrong to rob him of this opportunity.
I also saw an interesting thing, and I will try to find the graphic, but I can explain it relatively easily. It's kind of, we were talking about Kobe. Kobe was on this graphic. It was a guy tweeted, "This is the hardest basketball question I've ever been asked."
Okay.
Is what in the image. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It said, this starting lineup, who do you put on, or these 6 guys, who goes to the bench? Everyone's in their prime. Okay.
Yeah.
Going from left to right, based on memory, I could have the order a little bit jumbled up. Anyway, it goes LeBron, Steph, Michael Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, and KD.
Wow.
Who's on the bench? I think it's not a hard question.
So you said, I haven't seen this. I thought you were going to list a different 6 because there was one that I've been seeing lately that was a completely different 6. Other than I think KD might have been in that one. But so you said LeBron, Kobe, Jordan.
So LeBron, Jordan, KD, Steph, Shaq.
Oh, and Steph. Wow.
And okay. So, but like, it's like who sits on the bench? So if you go through systematically, Shaq's your center for sure.
I'd say Kobe. Kobe would have to be.
Yeah, it has to be easily.
Because, I mean, he's just, him and Jordan are like versions of each other, and Jordan's obviously
one's the knockoff, respectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, how would that be difficult in my brain? Because like, it's not hard.
Yeah.
You want it to be hard? Maybe it's not.
No, that's the whole reason people rank Kobe in the top 3 players of all time is because they want him to be there. But
more than he actually is.
Yeah, which that's a thing I think we should get into sometime. I don't know if it should be today, but
here's to give me the name of the episode. Get ready for it. Is Kobe even top 10? And it'll be me doing this. I think the answer is yes, but I think it's way closer to 10 than people think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like, it might be 10.
I think it's about, I think when I've made lists before, he's usually around the 8 range. Like, he's like
number
on par
iconic.
with, it is iconic. But he's on par with, like, Hakeem Olajuwon, like, around that level,
That's not disrespectful, everyone.
At all.
The NBA's been going for 75 years. There's been a lot of good basketball players. And this will probably be in that episode when we do one, when there's some week that we want to touch on it. And maybe it'll be soon. There's going to be a point where what our brains, when we were like 12, recognized as top 10, in order to have like the same, like, guys that deserve to be top 10, the list is going to be 20 guys in 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, you'll just have to have, because then you get to like, okay, does Luka get into that conversation? Does Jokic get into that conversation? LeBron's obviously already there. Steph's in the ballpark. There's guys that are like, well, you can't leave them out of the top 10. Well, somebody's got to be left out, or else it's not 10. And just eventually that top 10 to have the same like level of guys, it's just going to turn into a top 20.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And that's just the beauty of having... I'm also curious to look back and see, like, is this going to be looked at as like one of the strongest eras of basketball? Like
this
we're living through.
I feel
right
like
now.
it is, yeah.
Like the tail end of LeBron through what we'll call like the end of Luka. That's like could be a giant stretch, but like whatever era, whenever you want to say it ends. But we'll say LeBron starting in LA after the whole Cavs Warriors only in the finals thing.
Yeah, that's a good year to pick.
Like at that point on, I feel like the NBA has done nothing but get more and more competitive. And I think when you add two teams, it won't blow everything up.
No, not at all. I don't think so.
It just turns into this, like, what happens?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of excitement. That was a wild way to get from T-Mac to... Anyway, shout out to Tracy McGrady episode. Talking about the joys of basketball. Are we ready to jump into the terrible parts?
Yeah.
Like stupid City Edition courts?
Yeah, take it away.
What in the doo-doo shoes are these? So if anybody didn't know, this past Friday, we're recording this October 30th, as Logan said, day before Halloween. Woo! And there's this big new in-season tournament. It's a big hype. So the NBA tweets last Friday, keep your eyes out peeled Monday, and then just tweeted ambiguous stripes on the official NBA X. Sorry, they X'd. What is is it still a tweet? What is it?
I think I just say tweet. I don't know.
It's an X.
It's an X post is what I think Elon wants it to be called. But
and that doesn't roll off the tongue with a darn, bro.
No, at all. Not at all. And you know what's even worse? X videos or X pictures.
Oh.
That's what you would call...
Because of the connotation of the letter X and the adult film industry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't. That's crazy.
It's just wild that he wants it to be called that, but
everything in his life is X.
Yeah, for some reason.
But anyway, it's a cool letter. I mean, maybe it's a cross. I was crossing on X. Nah, it's stupid. It's just whatever. I was tweeting on X.
Yeah,
that's it. But anyway, NBA tweeted just a bunch of stripes of various colors, and everybody's like, oh, it's the official City Edition jersey drop. And I'm like, that would be fine. Like, we'd actually get a no for sure instead of hypotheticals. They found a way to make it worse. So what it is during the tournament, when it is a quote-unquote tournament game, from what I understand,
yep,
the home team will rock a specific court.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be like, well, that's a cool idea. And I would agree with you until you look at it in practice. Logan, I'm looking at a graphic that has like all of them just on one thing. If you want to pop
I can see it. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, because we're doing something new today. Everybody in the background, you don't know it, but we're doing something new. Anyway, I see an actual 2 wood-colored courts on this entire screen.
Yeah,
2, and like so. The thing that I think, because they tried to make them work with the jerseys. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, there are some aggressive ones. Like, have you ever looked in the formerly known as Staples Center, Crypto Arena or whatever, and look down and be like, you know what I think there should be more of on that court? Lakers yellow. Make the whole court Lakers yellow, and then throw a runway strip of purple down the center.
Yeah. And to keep in mind, the jerseys they'll be wearing for these are their City Editions, I believe, which are the black ones. So,
which is... okay, that'll work.
Yeah.
Let's hop over to the East. Let's take a gander. You know what I love? Heat red. I want to look at an entire Heat red basketball court with not a white strip. That would be egregious. Let's make it gray for some reason. And they're rocking black. Heat culture. Is that real or confirmed?
I'm pretty sure. I think it was.
Who's another all-timer here? One that I'm excited to see how the jerseys look to the court, because the connection doesn't feel like it should be this team. It is up in Toronto, the Great White North, the Six, as it's colloquially called by the locals. It is charcoal gray outsides with a slate gray runway. All these are the same format. I guess I should explain that. So it's a color, like it's team colors with a run strip in the middle, and then the free throw lines build what I'm assuming is going to be the trophy that you win for winning the midseason tournament.
Yeah, it's in the shape of the trophy, which is like a V shape.
It's like a V with like the free throw line being the top of this flat little crown thing.
Yeah.
And then in the center of the court, they also have that exact same trophy with the team's branding on it. And some of them are fine. Some of them I'm like, the Cleveland's, I'm like, rock that all the time. Just get rid of the stupid midseason trophy one.
I kind of like Minnesota's too, honestly. Minnesota's is kind of cool.
I got to make sure I'm finding Minnesota's. That's a lot of blue. I think I would like it if it was wood colored, maybe on the outside where it's the baby blue, and you saw that strip of blue down the middle.
Yeah, but it's kind of like ice blue.
Okay,
you know, it's kind of
the
cool.
one that I think is the most transgressions against the crown.
Yeah.
There's two, but I'll go with my front runner. New Orleans. It is a dark purple court with a lime green down the middle.
Yeah, to match their jerseys. Yeah, which are pretty awful jerseys too. So.
And then New York, just a lot of orange. It's fine, just a lot of orange.
Yeah.
It's all orange, Knicks orange with the blue in the middle. These really feel like they were made in MS Paint.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine a lot of these courts. I'll be interested to see what they look like on the game, like on TV. And that is kind of where my opinions will be solidified. But I'm all up for like changing things up, you know, and trying new things.
Masterclass Utah with the Sunset Moab. Mwah, mwah. Perfection. Mm-hmm. They matched their jersey to the court. They did it beautifully. When Memphis rocks the Vancouver Grizzly in the center, they changed it out. But I just think they're not prepared for this much color. It's going to be brutal to watch.
Yeah.
Like,
it'll be interesting for sure.
Have you ever looked at like a poster and it was yellow with black writing and you're like, let me recover?
Yeah.
That's going to be the entire game on the Lakers court.
That's what it looks like, and that's why I'm so curious to see players standing on these. You know what I mean?
And some of them aren't the worst. Just some of them are so unfortunately unfortunate.
Yeah. Boston's I like.
I don't hate Boston's, but I wish it was flipped. That's all I want. Make the Boston in the middle white instead of green. Make the landing strip be green and the outsides be parquet. I think it's protected parquet, right?
I have no idea how it's pronounced.
I've always thought it was parquet, and then somebody says parquet, and so now I'm like self-conscious. I'm sticking with parquet. Okay. Protect the parquet. It's probably parquet because it's French. Anyway, but that on the outside with that dark green strip with everything
Mm-hmm.
just a white Boston instead of the green they've got.
Yeah. That's about as far as my opinions go. Like I said, it definitely looks iffy. But I just kind of want to see it happen, honestly.
It's just more the why.
Yeah, I think
I'm looking at Chicago's.
They really want the in-season tournament to feel very different than the regular season.
I totally am behind and I support. And I believe the Larry O'Brien should be in the center of every finals game like it used to be. I don't know if it always was like that, but like Celtics in 08 had the giant Larry O'Brien.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes the court, it just makes it that much more.
Yeah, I
agree.
And
when you watch a clip from 2 years ago and you look, you're like, oh, that was a finals game. Mm-hmm. That craziness just happened.
Yeah.
Because of the giant... I love that they brought back that, and hopefully it makes it so teams will do it for the finals more.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that this feels like a 12-year-old on 2K went wild.
Yeah, I agree with that, which is kind of cool from one viewpoint of like seeing those wild thoughts that you used to have playing 2K come to life, you know? But at the same time, it's also seems like it's a bit too much.
Okay, also,
just at first
aren't the
glance.
Suns jerseys purple?
I think they're black, right?
I thought they're purple with the El Valet.
They might be.
Just like, how did yeah, they're purple. They're the same shade of purple as the court. I can get off of this. It's just weird to me.
It is weird, for sure.
And this also makes sense why every single team city, almost every single city, they're all black. All of them. Because none of these courts are black. Mm-hmm. The only one that's kind of close is the one that I think is pretty good, and that is Toronto's, because they've got those gold jerseys. Right? Isn't Toronto's gold this year?
Yeah.
And that'll look kind of cool contrasted with this gray. But And Utah, I know their jersey is purple. They rocked 2 tones of purple.
Yeah, at least the purple they're wearing is going to be really dark, I guess. But so like it won't be confused with the court,
which is good. It's just a lot. I'm very excited, and I think that it's cool that they're giving city editions like a purpose instead of just be like, oh, play them whenever, just wear them whenever. Mm-hmm. Like I think,
which that's something I wanted to bring up with you sometime. I listened to it was an old podcast that came out back in May. I don't know if you listened to One Shining podcast from The Ringer with Tate Frazier.
No, I do not.
But he had this whole episode about Steph Curry, the branding of Steph Curry, and his war with Nike over the years, basically. But one of the things he said in there was really interesting was apparently Nike has complete like control over, like they decide what team wears what jersey, what game. They make all of those decisions. The teams do not decide what their jerseys look like or when they wear them.
Do they do that for the NFL too?
I have no idea.
I would like to know, because the NFL, I've been big on this. NFL's doing throwbacks very well. But the New Orleans Saints need their gold pants on the road back, and they played the Colts, and they wore all whites. And I'm like, you know what you could have done? You beat the Colts in Super Bowl 46 or whatever, which one it was. I think it was 46. Whatever, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Gold bottoms, white tops. It would have been the perfect game to bring them back. And then everybody has just this obsession with all white. Everywhere.
Yeah.
It's fine. It doesn't matter.
And does Nike make the jerseys for NFL?
Yes, the NFL, it does. It's the only team that like kind of gets around it is I think it's Green Bay. Still looks like the old Reebok jerseys in visual, but it's still Nike that makes it.
Oh, okay.
Like Reebok had like the dots in the like the holes in the jersey, and then like the Green Bay still, I think it's Green Bay still looks like that, but it's Nike made. They kept the template as close as they could without the weird copyright garbage and
that makes sense.
All of that. But that is an interesting. That's crazy. That's
insane.
I get that if you made like a new jersey, you'd want it to be like, even if it sucks, wear it 6 times, 4 times, whatever. Mm-hmm. But that is just very different than. Actually, I know unless Nike like listens sometimes, because like the Cowboys don't wear blue. They always wear their what people would consider in football aways, but they wear their all white.
Yeah,
their white jerseys. They always wear them because I think they've only won Super Bowls in that jersey. There's some weird superstition thing. So then whenever Dallas goes and plays in New England wears their aways, so Dallas has to wear their blues. Or they used to do this. Or like if Dallas came to New England, Bill Belichick, I always thought it was him, would be like, we're going to wear our whites today. And make people make them do something different.
Yeah.
But that makes me think that the NFL, it's not Nike picking.
Yeah. I have no idea how it works, honestly. That's what I heard on that podcast episode. And it was interesting because he was attacking it from the angle of how Nike specifically chose to make like the Warriors jerseys and courts look less appealing in games, like big playoff games against LeBron or against like other Nike athletes. And also like just the fact that KD went to the Warriors and kind of overshadowed Steph for a while, and KD was the second biggest Nike athlete, and that happened like right after Steph and Nike fell through with each other, you know?
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Like they tried to halt his brand from becoming as big as it would have, or whatever you want to say. But yeah,
that's wild. That's
it's a conspiracy theory basically, but there's a lot of interesting details in that one. I would suggest it to anybody listening.
One shining pod from
Tate Frazier. It was like in May. I think it's called Steph Curry, something to do with Steph Curry Nike branding.
Well, there can't be that many episodes on just branding and Nike in general. You wouldn't think.
Yeah.
I will probably give that a listen, honestly, on the morrow on my way to work. So that'll be a good listen.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I think that will do it on court designs, right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. It just seems wild to me.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I'd agree. For sure.
Yeah.
But the next thing we wanted to talk about is the flop rule, right?
Yes.
So you have immediate thoughts on this that you wanted to delve into?
If you want to give I just think you give like a background before I just get derailed again.
Okay, so I like it. Just right off the bat, going to say that, but
I like the idea of it. Like, I'm not opposed to the flop rule. Marcus Smart's not here anymore. I'm not opposed. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
So how it works, for those that don't know, is throughout the natural flow of a game, if the ref sees a player exaggerate contact or completely fabricate contact and like flop or whatever, have some exaggerated theatrics, they can call that. But the thing is, they don't stop it mid-game. Like, they don't stop the flow of the game to call it, which is one big confusion I've seen with a lot of people online. Is people like, I hate this rule because why do they stop play like 30 seconds too late for this both times or whatever. And I was arguing with a lot of people on there. But the thing is, they wait until either the next dead ball or the next stagnant/neutral moment in play, which is like when the ball's just kind of being walked up the court without any ball pressure.
Like rebounded, no contention, just walking up the court casually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They can blow the whistle then when nothing's going on, and then they'll call the flop, which is a technical foul. But it's not an actual technical foul because it doesn't account. Like, a player can have unlimited amount of these in a game. It doesn't count against any sort of foul limit rules.
But I think it does towards technical money when you get fined.
Oh, probably.
I think that's why it's labeled as a technical foul. Is it like
because it gives the other team a shot? I think is probably why. That too. Yeah. But
I might be. I need to look into the rules more, but. It's called a technical foul, but they call it a non. It's not a non-contact. It's a non. Oh, what do they call it? I remember him saying it on the broadcast.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head what you're talking about. But yeah. So the other team will get one shot by any player who was on the court at the time of the foul.
Non-unsportsmanlike conduct. So it's a double negative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much you're not being like a jerk technical foul. You're just
it's flopping. So I like it because the big pushback I see from a lot of people is saying you don't need to institute a foul or a flopping foul call. Just don't call the fouls on the flops in the first place and just let them lay there like idiots. And my pushback to that is that I like this having the separate call for the flop because it's a lot of these plays are fouls. A lot of the times where people exaggerate contact and stuff it is illegal contact. The reason why people have grown to exaggerate it so much over the years is because it's more likely to be called if you do try to sell it,
If you feel like you have to, yeah.
And so players have learned to do that more and more because it benefits them. So in order to stop that, you shouldn't just not call fouls anymore, because then what would be the point of that? Like, I like that you can still call the foul, but then there's also a flopping foul that you can call in the same place. So like the one that happened in the Knicks game, Knicks and Celtics, Porzingis elbowed Isaiah Hartenstein to get him off of him when they were like, scrabbling over the ball. And Isaiah Hartenstein like flailed and like fell to the ground really dramatically. And so they gave Hartenstein a flopping foul, but they also gave Porzingis a technical for elbowing him in the head. So he like the foul
they didn't give Porzingis the tech.
Yeah, they did.
Unless there was two instances, because there was the one where, yeah, it was hard. They were both fighting for. No, this was a different. There was two. Sorry, there was another one where he was like fighting for the rebound, and Porzingis had it and started doing this, and inconsequentially hit him in the head. And they didn't call that.
They didn't call it initially, but on review, they did give him the technical. It was after, so play was stopped.
Yep.
And I agree. Like Hartenstein,
because Porzingis got the rebound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure we're on the same. Yes.
Yeah. So Porzingis got the rebound. The whistle was blown. Like play was dead. And so Hartenstein was like trying to grab the ball right before like the play stopped, but he just kind of kept going after the whistle was blown. So Hartenstein was in the wrong. Like I agree with like what the broadcasters were saying. Like, what is Porzingis supposed to do there? Because they were pushing back. They disagreed with the refs, saying that it shouldn't been a technical on Porzingis, which I probably agree with. But I'm just using this as an example for. I like the fact that they're still able to call a foul on the person who, on the, like they're still able to call the foul that the person is trying to sell.
Yep. And
also punish them for selling it.
Yes.
So I just like having that as a possibility, because the foul should still be like a thing that is treated like how it's supposed to be, whether or not it was illegal or not. And so it can definitely hurt them a lot more, especially when they don't get their foul call to go their way, which will happen sometimes. One of the ones that people were really mad about was the Jalen Brunson one, because it should have been a foul that he flopped on. The foul was missed, which just happened. I mean, it happens sometimes. Like there's going to be foul calls missed at every level of basketball. But I don't remember who it was, but somebody was closing out on him. Tatum, yeah. So he got in his landing area, and Jalen Brunson landed on top of Tatum's foot. When he fell,
he did. But it was a weird deal.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been a 3-point foul, for sure. But how Brunson people were defending Brunson, saying he wasn't flopping. I mean, I hesitate to call it flopping, but he did exaggerate the way he fell. Was like he propelled himself farther than he should have, and like kind of flailed to make it look more dramatic. Mm-hmm. Which I think is just a natural instinct at this point for a lot of these players.
Well, no, it's because you have to. This is like where I push back and get like your point. I get a little bit like your side. I am not in the camp of like, well, then just don't call those fouls. Mm-hmm. But like that's part of this. Not sportsmanship and like good game sportsmanship, but like the showmanship of the game. Like in the NFL, if you're a defensive lineman and you're getting held, you'll like flail and fall down on purpose to catch that jersey come out. Yeah. Like it's just every sport has some sort. Soccer's the worst.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think the NBA was inching towards and why this rule was put in place.
Yeah.
It's because you have guys like an inconsequential like rub of the shoulder across the chest, and then they fly back. You're like,
yeah, like completely. Even when players are anticipating contact and it doesn't actually even happen, they're still acting as though it did.
Like the funny, it's the double flop where they like turn
mm-hmm.
and then they both fall back, and you're like, well, that's unfortunate.
So like those should definitely be called. So I just like this rule because it's not a big deal. It's not a big punishment. It's just like one shot, and it's not possession. It's whoever had possession at the time of the call. So,
I just don't like they call it a technical foul, honestly. Like, why would you call it that? Just call it like, because I know that, but it's just weird because then you give it like another level that you have to remember of, it's a non-unsportsmanlike.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it won't be too big of an issue because already I've not been like I call it a technical foul when I was explaining it here, but every time I've referred to it and every time I feel like I've heard it talked about on the broadcast for the most part, they just say the flopping foul or the flopping.
They do. They do.
Yeah, they do that type of thing with
their
arm.
I think is very weird.
Yeah.
Because like that's like a, I don't know, just.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think it's good for the game overall just because it will remove the foul baiting and because like that part of the game I just don't like how.
And I'm with you on that for sure.
People, you're basically incentivized in basketball to be weak and like very easily moved and things like that. And this just makes it so like you play basketball in the purest way, like the way that it's supposed to be played, without all of those like technical advantages you can have by exploiting the rules, basically.
Well, and the thing that I don't like about it now is it like removes like. Here's a great one: 2 all-timers in the flopping world, Joel Embiid, Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
Marcus Smart cannot stop Joel Embiid without fouling. In just terms of math logic. Joel Embiid physically can do whatever he wants to Marcus Smart and just kind of get to the basket.
Probably.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the Marcus Smart flopping thing was like, I have so many thoughts. I need to finish this one.
Yeah, no, this is good.
The big guy is now screwed.
Wait, why is the big guy screwed?
I have it the other way around.
Yeah. Like Kyle Lowry probably doesn't have a career.
If Marcus Smart has to foul Joel Embiid to stop him. So Joel Embiid would sell, he pushed me too hard forward, and he'd fall forward. Never thought I'd be in the Joel Embiid defender. But
that's what he does already. Yeah, that's
what he does because just because someone's smaller than you and it doesn't impact you, it's still a foul. Agreed? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that some refs do view it on a little bit of a sliding scale, though.
And that's like a ref thing where refs are all over the place.
Yeah, like I think it's, I think that because some of in the wording of some of these rules are like inconsequential contact, like things like that. Like that can be like the decider of whether or not it's a foul. If it's deemed inconsequential.
There was an Al Horford play in that Knicks game. Just later on, he come up, somebody gets the block, and then he like swipes through, also trying to get the block. Mm-hmm. But on his way down, his elbow just lands on probably Hartenstein's head. He was on the ground like 9 times in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And they said inconsequential, like it wasn't like he's trying to smack him on the head.
Yeah.
I just feel, I don't know. I want it to be consistent and make sense.
Yeah.
Because if Joel Embiid doesn't alter the way he plays, or if LeBron doesn't alter the way he plays in accordance to the rule, they should be called 4 times a game for this.
Yeah, for sure.
That's maybe over, but like there's guys, Trae Young,
Kyle Lowry,
Marcus Smart. Like you can go through all these guys, like everybody knows who they are.
Yeah.
Guys that lead the league in charges a lot of the time. Some of those are legit charges. They take it and they fall over and they're like, that hurt. That was not pleasant. Yeah. But a lot of them are also like, well, no, you had Tyler Hero bump into you and you slid back 5 foot. That's not what happened. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Tyler Hero was just like a driving kind of sometimes guy. I don't know why I thought Tyler Hero. Anyway, I just want it to be like consistent somehow.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
just feel like it's with the ambiguity of the wording now. It's just like, well, if you see it, you know it. You know what it is when you see it.
Exactly.
And that's just tough because how, like, you're telling me that the Lakers played. I guess the Warriors didn't have Draymond. So it's like there's like guys that played on night 1 and there wasn't one called.
There should have been a couple probably, but the thing is, what I like about it is that I think, and this is the right way to do it, like to lean more the safe way and like only call them when they are completely obvious. And so it's not, it's not affecting too much, because we were just playing that way for all these years. It's not affecting too much when you don't call them, but just the idea or the fact that they can be called, and at times they are called, I think is a really good step in the right direction.
I just think we need to get a baseline definition of egregious, because like there's things. Porzingis, the first one ever called, I was like, that I don't think was necessarily egregious.
But it was obvious that
it was prompted by a real foul. That's why I'm like, because the ones that I think are the worst are the ones where there's like, there was barely a foul. That was like just a hard foul, and he sold the hard foul. And I'd like to think that I can remove myself if it wasn't like a Celtic. Like, I don't think I would care.
Yeah, that's how I feel about this too. Like, if I wonder if one day later on, like in the playoffs or something, I'm gonna like curse this rule and hate it because it just does something bad to my team.
If it impacts, well, and it hasn't done anything bad. Shout out Celtics. I'm guessing 3-0. We were curb stomping the Warriors. Not Warriors. I wish Wizards.
Yeah, Wizards.
At one point, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown had combined more than the entire Wizards team. I think that was at halftime.
Yeah, I saw they had 36 and 33 at one point.
That is the last time I looked as well.
Yeah, but yeah. So I like it just because
it got close at the end. Close, 19-point game, but
yeah, I just like the flopping foul. Because like with what you said, like you want a baseline definition of egregious. I just think that it's pretty, like for the very, very obvious ones, like it doesn't really matter where the line is as long as it's you're just erring on like far away from the middle. You know what I mean? Wherever the line, like, because like sometimes they will be called and sometimes they won't be, but let's just hope at least that at least 99.9% of the ones that are called are definitely flops, are definitely them exaggerating. And as long as that is the case, then I think this is a good rule.
Also, feels bad looking at the Celtics Wizards game. Remember the one guy on the Wizards bench that didn't play?
One guy on the Wizards bench?
There was only one guy on the entire Wizards team that suited up that didn't play.
Taj Gibson.
It was Mike Muscala.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
But he was like fired up about it. He's like,
oh, he was mad?
Not mad. He was just emotional. Him and Gallinari both were like, I'm ready to play the Celtics.
Oh.
Gallinari was
for the
way
Celtics
more.
matchup. Yeah. I heard about that. Mm-hmm.
The Gallinari one was definitely the bigger one. But anyway, I feel like I just want it's hard to be a concrete abstract, but I want that.
Mm-hmm.
I want there to be a concrete idea of this abstract concept.
Yeah.
Just of like, and I agree, like if they just don't get one wrong, like where it wasn't a flop and like, oh no, that's just a hard foul and he went down hard. As long as that doesn't get called, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, and the other thing that I could see is guys like Porzingis, especially, but maybe guys like Joel and AD as well, like those big guys who are really injury prone. One thing that's helped them throughout their career, at this point, especially with Porzingis, is how they've learned to fall. Like,
yes.
So like they intentionally fall at times, like not for the purpose of necessarily trying to get a call, but actually just to protect their bodies, you know? And which I think our refs, our league is smart enough to, I don't know why I said I'm not affiliated with them at all, but they're smart enough to understand that is a factor and have that in mind when calling it on guys like Porzingis and Embiid. So as long as it's not like in a flailing way that is like accentuating the actual contact and more so just falling in order to.
But if a guy goes ragdoll and doesn't tense up his body to like minimize the like. Not ragdoll, but where they do the thing where they like land on their butt and kind of like
push,
noodle and push. They push with their arms but noodle their legs.
Yeah,
it's just because they have to. Like that's just how they fall. Not safe, but Tua Tagovailoa does that in the NFL now. He was after his crazy year last year. He like went to a person, I think an MMA person, and learned how to fall. And and how to get hit, and he like you'll see him like get hit by a guy, and if the ball's not in his hands, he'll just go like potato, but then he'll like make his head go. He learned how to fall, and it seems like a weird thing, but guys just have to do that when you're. I think it's not even just size; it's just when you're doing what professional athletes go through, whether it's you're a 7 foot tall guy with like razor thin margins on your tendons. Like you just have to take extra care if you're a 5'10" quarterback, or I don't even know if he's that tall, but just getting smashed by giant people, you just have to adapt. So that is a good point also that hopefully the NBA, is smart to figure that out. And speaking of, have you posted the picture? I haven't looked.
I haven't yet, no. I
am a member of the Boston Celtics. Emotionally.
Yeah.
Not physically. I'm not getting paid. This is not sponsored. They released some sick wallpapers. And I was pretty proud of it. So
yeah. By the time this episode comes out, I'll probably be up. So
I was really trying to do it better. So if somebody's better at Photoshop, feel free to fix it. But.
Yeah. Hit us up. But yeah, with that, are you ready to get into power rankings?
I think the proper meat of the episode is properly in order. And we're starting at 30, right?
Yeah, sure.
For fun. Yeah.
I also did mine in tiers, but I'll say what the tiers are, but if I'll also abide by your rules and give a number for each one. So.
Okay. What is your lowest tier? What did you call the bottom tier?
My bottom tier has 2 teams on it, and it's called Might As Well Tank.
I like that.
Yeah.
I will also probably agree that looking at my 30 and 29, Might As Well Tank is also a label I would put on both of them.
Yeah, and what I would also say about this is most years there would probably be a few more teams in this tier. I think this is a unique year where there's only 2. Feels like it's less than usual, which is nice for a change.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So my team 30, it's kind of honestly kind of a coin flip between these two, but I think I might lean because I'm going to be projecting forward a little because this rankings is not just based on like what they're doing right now. You know, it's more so like how they rank in terms of contention, like contendership in a way. So I think I'm going to put the Blazers at team 30.
I've got the Blazers at team 29 on my quick list, but I mean, they're right there. It's not like they're very far from 30.
Yeah.
And maybe your team 29 is my team 30. I've got Houston.
Oh, no. It's not.
And it's a little bit different than Might As Well Tank because they have a lot of the pieces. But Houston just, they just struggle. And the vets they went and got are the worst possible vets they could have gotten for a young team, in my opinion. Van Vliet, better so than Brooks. Yeah. I just feel like they just didn't, like, if I'm Houston, I look to go get who can you go overpay? Anybody that's not people that take a ton of shots. Anyone else.
Yeah, I would agree that probably would have helped.
No, because you've got these, honestly, the people that were saying I forgot their last names. The twins.
The Thompson twins?
The Thompson twins, both are fun. They are spicy.
Oh, yeah.
Spicy. Defensively, combined, they have 12 blocks.
Yeah.
It's wild. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
They're just fun.
They are very fun.
But I think it's more that I just don't like the way the Rockets chose to build their team this offseason. And so, they have so much good promise. They're, low for you, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, they are probably 28th, I think.
I have them at my 30, and then my 29 is Portland. And just because, I feel better about, specific pieces on Portland than I do about, it's a similar issue. Sense. They've just got guys. They have young guys. They just need to let cook. I just feel like Portland built their team to let guys cook better than Houston did. And shout out to Robert Williams, the third Time Lord, hit a sick mid-range. Sick.
Yeah. So Portland, I have, like I said, I have at 30th. Part of the reason why is because I'm projecting forward a little bit with, I feel like Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon will both probably be moved at some point this season. And we'll talk about who I think should get them in a little bit, not too long. But so, yeah, I just kind of feel like they're not going to have a ton going on for them there. The Rockets, they seem to be more like not necessarily locked into those guys that they signed this offseason, but a little bit more like these are the guys we're rocking with, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I have Blazers at 30. My 29 is the Washington Wizards, who I was debating with putting at 30th. But I have them at 29. All I really need to say here is their like leading shots taker is Jordan Poole. And he is ridiculously it's the Jordan Poole experience right now that we're seeing. We had that one preseason game where he had 27 points in the first half. Next game, he came out, he scored like 9 points on like 1 of 17 or something like that. So that's just how it goes with Jordan Poole.
Yeah. I love the one Jason Tatum playoff game, 1 for 13. And like in the interview, he goes, humbly, I'm one of the best players on the planet.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
You actually can do that because you actually did. Like, dude, like next game, I think he had. It might have been game 6. It was game 6 against Philly.
Also, I think that game he was like 1 for 11 or 1 for 12 up until the fourth quarter, and then he had a big fourth quarter.
Yeah.
In that game.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just got distracted when you said the 1 for whatever.
Yeah.
But no, Jordan Poole is a case study.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I have him in our fantasy league because I was like, yeah, he's gonna be a terrible team, good stats guy. Don't know if I'm even getting that.
Yeah.
He
might be in the negatives on some games.
Because of how many shots he takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how bad he is on defense and just everything. All of it. So not a big fan of that. I think Kuzma.
The Pacers put up 143 points on Washington. I did not realize that.
When was that? The other day?
Game 1. Apparently, the Pacers put up 143 points on 111 possessions.
Yeah, I've noticed that on cleaning the glass and all the advanced metrics right now, Indiana is way ahead of everybody throughout.
And it might have been part of that game.
Yeah, for sure. Through 3 games now, Indiana is looking like the best team. So that's obviously going to be my number 1 on this list. That was a joke. But, yeah, Wizards at 29. 28, I have the Rockets, the aforementioned Rockets. I don't even really want to talk about these teams, honestly, too much.
I'm good. We can just keep moving.
Yeah. So who's your 28?
I am going to go, and mine's a little bit different because it's like a right now thing. Charlotte, I am just very out on. This one was a toss up for me, but I'm going to go Charlotte at 28. Some of them looks fine, but then other parts don't. But this is also like a right now. I did it more now instead of the... Obviously, if Lamelo gets back and he's healthy and like things can go good. But they lost to Detroit, which isn't great.
I mean, Detroit's pretty feisty.
They're feisty, but I feel like you could just be better than that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's fair.
I'm also just down on the Hornets, I guess.
Yeah. Makes sense. So you have them below the Wizards.
Wizards are next.
Okay.
Wizards are my 27.
Makes sense. My 27 is, I think I'm going with the Hornets here at 27 for a lot of the same reasons you just mentioned. So yeah, and then my 26 is the San Antonio Spurs.
I also have the Spurs because not Wemby, just you sent me a text and then I really started looking and it got me begouched.
Yeah.
Which is a synonym for angry. I was like, come on, you should have beat the Mavs. Come on.
They should have. They really should have.
They controlled the whole game darn near.
Yep.
And then they just said, what if we pretended like Wemby wasn't on the court.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like they like stopped using him. Like, because I'd be like, oh, they're gonna like use Wemby as a distraction, get other guys. Nope. Mm-mm. They just were like, that's essentially Matt Bonner to me down there in the paint.
The guy with the ball in his hands, like whoever it was, they just kept putting their heads down and were like, it's my time.
And it was like Devin Vassell just got paid and got money on the brain.
But it kept being like every possession down the stretch that the Mavs didn't score was like a big reason for that was Wemby being an animal on the defensive end, and then streaking down the floor like either like he's got a pretty open spot in the paint if you want to throw him a lob, or like he was moving around constantly in those final possessions trying to get open. And there's plenty of opportunities for them to get him the ball, but they just would not even look at him. And it was just crazy to me because of how, I don't know, probably the 7 to 5 to 4-ish minute range of the fourth quarter. And in that stretch is when Wemby basically like put them in position to like close it out. And
because they were like controlling, and then Wemby was like,
he had a couple big threes.
And this was like, his first bucket was a 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there is a perfect why this guy is terrifying.
Exactly.
He had a ton of other stats in the game, rebounds, blocks, maybe a couple assists. And then his first points were on a like contested, if anybody
off the dribble.
Off the dribble. And it wasn't contested because you can't really contest him.
Yeah.
But like, in theory, if it was a 6'4" person, it's a contested 3.
Yeah.
Just wet. And then he did it again. And you're like...
Yeah, he had 3, I think. 3 3-pointers. If not 3, then 4. But it was at least 3. And yeah, so it's just... He had a few big plays. It wasn't like a great game from him by any means. But he played way better than the numbers looked. And like how much his teammates let him be good in a way, you know? Like
he did not miss very many opportunities at all. Because he didn't get a ton of opportunities. Everyone he got, I feel like he capitalized. Not everyone. A majority of them, I feel like he capitalized on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And there was a few where, he got the ball and he made a pretty good play, like passing it off to a teammate. There was one where he had this, he was posting up around the elbow, and he had this kind of like drop down bounce pass to, can't remember who it was, but somebody was cutting down the baseline, and that person who he passed to just was standing on the baseline when they caught the ball, and so it was a turnover. But there's just like a couple plays like that where it was like Wemby made a really good read, like somebody that is 7'4" and has all of these skills. It's like, how can he be good at this too? Like, it's just unfair that he can do this too.
Let's imagine this mental exercise where Wemby is 2 drafts earlier. And the Warriors ended up with Wemby.
Instead of James Wiseman?
It's over. Imagine they get one.
If they won the lottery.
If they would have won that's what's so terrifying about, like, the NBA is lucky that Wiseman is... He's young still, but I'm going to say an underperforming from his pick.
For sure.
I don't want to slap a bust on him yet. Maybe he cooks in a different system, and I know that Warrior system, I think, is also proven that it's not for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. But, like, they could have just had a Wemby.
Yeah.
The NBA is over. For the next, like, 3 years, it's just over.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how good you think your team is... You'd be like, going for second?
Yeah, so...
Anyway, that didn't happen. But Wemby has played very well through his first week. The rest of his team has let him down because they don't just let him cook. Yeah. They don't let him get into that French bag and start cooking.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's any... At least I don't think so. Anything to do with Pop or like the system. It's just kind of like what the decisions that his teammates are making at times is just kind of like, seems a little bit like, oh, we're here too, it's not all about that guy,
which it is actually.
Yeah, it kind of should be, honestly. But yeah,
there wasn't anybody on the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2004 being like, or 2003, it's me.
They actually were, and that was an issue. But yeah,
I don't remember any of them.
Yeah, Ricky Davis. Like there's a few. Carlos Boozer, I think, even said, like, when he was first coming in, LeBron, they were like, don't please it's ridiculous that people are expecting him to be the best player on this team.
I've seen videos of this now in like locker room interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this.
There's
now
a lot
that
of
I'm saying it. That was a bad example. But it's fine. We are to 20 through the first 5. Same 5, just in a different order. Rockets, Blazers, Hornets, Wizards, Spurs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is your 25th team, Logan?
So my 25th is I already did the Hornets. The Detroit Pistons are my 25th. And I could maybe put them a little bit higher. Oh, I forgot to mention what tier this is. So this is my second to last tier, which is called Too Early. And so that's kind of why the Pistons ended up here, where like I could argue them above like maybe a couple teams in the tier above them, but like the tier above them is like a specific kind of like circumstance, you know?
Nightmare scenario known as the Chicago Bulls, question mark?
Yes. Teams akin to that. So the Pistons, I could definitely maybe slide over some teams like that. But I think ultimately they end up in this tier for me, the Too Early tier. So I'll just keep going in that order and put the Pistons at 25. But they are a feisty and on the up 25. I'm loving Cade Cunningham, his season so far. Monty Williams has really leaned into utilizing him as like the focal point of the offense, a lot more heliocentric than we've seen Cade play in the past, which I think is good for his development in that area. But I also would like to continue to see them mix in other ball handlers and have him off ball and stuff like that. Obviously, we'll see if that continues to develop. But I think even the bigger surprise so far, because everybody was expecting Cade, not everybody, I guess, but a lot of people were expecting Cade to, kind of come onto the scene for the first time, like have his like actual potential realized more so than it has been so far with all the injuries that he struggled with. But the bigger surprise so far has been Jalen Duren for a lot of people.
I think him and the Thompson twin are both.
Oh yeah, Asar Thompson.
Baby surprises for like. Some people were like, "Well, yeah, that makes sense," and other people were like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah,
nice.
With Asar Thompson, he hasn't been shooting well like at all, but he's just been a ball of energy and been, there's a lot of things to like about what Asar Thompson has brought to the team. But Jalen Duren, I think, is leading the league in rebounding so far, and he's just playing really well as a rim protector, as a lob threat with Cade Cunningham. Basically, he's Cade's Robin, I guess, if you want to say, like in the 2-man game of the offense, like the two primary focal points of this team on the perimeter and on the interior, it's Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. I think Jalen Duren is that kind of dynamic duo mate for Cade.
We got that little sneak peek preview for U.S. Select Team.
Yeah. So, But what's also really crazy is just how young Jalen Duren is. He's younger than 12. Asar Thompson.
Oh,
no, he's 19. This is his second season.
That is scary a little bit. That's wild. I like the naming of the tier because that seems like Detroit is that. They are just that to a T. There's like a little worried in the future, but right now they're still beatable because they just got a lot of guys that haven't. Not all the dots have connected yet.
Yeah. So the teams on my Too Early tier, from worst to best. Rockets, then Hornets, then Spurs, and then a pretty good amount above everybody else on this tier is the Detroit Pistons.
So we are on, that was your
25.
That's Jazz is where I have that.
Okay.
I have them in a, I guess I can just do 25 and 24. I have Jazz and then Pistons. The Jazz I feel like I wanted to see like another... And we're really early. We're a weekend. I just wanted to see like another like aggressive explosion out the gates, and I feel like it just has been almost the opposite of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And they just things that I was like, I just didn't love it. So that's why I've got the Jazz here. I think that the Jazz could be a team that when we do this in another 20 games, 20 or so games, another couple weeks, this could be very different. I just have the Jazz because they just started off so slow. Jordan Clarkson did not look fantastic.
Nope.
And I think that him looking fantastic is a key to this team, like sniffing the playoffs, maybe even.
Yeah,
like,
which is pretty crazy.
Very good.
Yeah.
Which is why they're like not a dark horse type of team because relying on Jordan Clarkson to just be him is what they have other pieces. I'm not disrespecting the Finnish legend, Lauri Markkanen, but I just
but it's different than when they had Mike Conley in the backcourt at the start of last season. I think that was a big part of why they were still a really competent, really good team. Not to say that they can't be a competent team this year. I think they still are capable of that, but they don't have as many of those like even-keeled veteran types as they had in the past with Mike Conley, and even like a young, really consistent guy like Jared Vanderbilt. So,
well, and I think that they like almost got the opposite. Like they went and got John Collins, who I don't know if I would use the word like cool-headed.
Yeah.
Granted, we've only ever seen him in a situation where doesn't feel happy. Like we've never seen him in a situation he seems to enjoy ever since like his second year in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll change. Walker Kessler, like they've got a lot of fun names to say and be like, oh, those guys are pretty good. But they can't quite click yet. So that's why I've got them at 25. Pistons, I have a 24. You pretty much hit every possible nail on the head. I did not think that the Thompson twins would be my favorite rookies to watch. Wemby obviously excluded because he's a
really? Yeah, coming into this, I think I might have said that at some point during our draft stuff that the Thompson twins are kind of just like my favorite guys.
I just didn't think I would see it so early. Like I was like a game into each of them. I'm like, wait. Are these like I knew they were dudes. Obviously, this was like a loaded draft class.
Yeah,
in theory, but I'm like, no, they're cooking. Like they're cooking with some sauce.
They're crazy athletes. They have like the best personalities. Like they're very down to earth, but also just like fun and competitive. And then also, they're both like world class playmakers, like passers and just team players. Like they just like embody all of the things I like about basketball. You know what I mean? They don't have the shooting or like some of those like fundamental basic things as much, but like just the team play, the grit and the defense, like all of that is just.
But if you think about it, your whole life playing with another guy that's an NBA level player.
Yeah.
You know, like your twin is just always there being like, oh, I need to force this. No, you don't. You've got another dude that's going to be playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, they played on a lot of teams where there's a lot of probably future NBA guys or current day NBA guys because they've just been on those fancy AAU teams and all that fanciness.
Yeah.
But they're just fun to watch. I think their defense is what makes me more happy. Because there's a lot of guys that are athletes that don't like, oh, I'm a good defender as an athlete.
Zach LaVine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is a perfect example. Because, I mean, he used to kind of be like a little bit of defense when he was in Minnesota. But the second he became a guy, that was out the window.
Yeah.
There was no more focusing on that. But yeah, speaking of Zach LaVine, I don't have the Bulls yet, but they're coming up very rapidly.
Yeah, they are very shortly. But so my next tier, the third to last tier, is called Limbo. So these are the teams that I feel like are kind of in limbo right now. And so the bottom team that I have in there, I guess I'll go with the Jazz, I guess. I could go with a few teams here, but I'll go with the Jazz at 24. We already have kind of discussed them. But yeah, and then 23, the team I'll pick for 23 is the Toronto Raptors. Is that a bit spicy?
It's not spicy, but I just have them higher because there is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 teams that I would put in whatever like tier you have right now.
Yeah.
And that just happens to stretch up to 19. So like my brain is like,
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in this tier.
I also do. I wonder if they're the same 5. They might be. Anyway, that's not that crazy. The Raptors are definitely in the same. I feel like it's a competitive NBA because there's no one that's in that bottom necessarily, but like there's hard groups of like I look at these teams and I see the same thing just with different colors.
Yeah.
Like looking at the Bulls and then looking at, we've talked about the Bulls a couple times, so it's not like a spoiler. And then looking at the Raptors or looking at the Jazz, you're just like, you can't sleep on them, but I'm not like, you know?
Yeah, they have like the talent. Like the way I'll describe it is like they have talented players on their team. None of them, but like they don't have like the roster to really compete for anything. And also, they don't have the young core to build around. So like they don't have any of those things. They're basically in the point of either it's time to hit the rebuild button, or they've already hit it, but they're in the early stages of it where they don't have anything, and like there's no like vantage points to like lock onto and be like, this is what we're building toward, you know?
Or we just wait for a competitive team to need a piece like one that we have.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, oh, you would like Alex Caruso type of player?
Or Cameron Johnson.
Or Cam Johnson?
Well, I didn't even mention that team yet, but spoiler alert, they are in this tier for me as well.
They are also in this tier for me. Do you just want to say the 5 teams in the tier?
Yeah. So I have the Jazz, the Raptors, the Nets, the Bulls, and then the last team I have in here is
Grizzlies.
Yeah, the only reason that they're in here, though, for me is because of the Ja suspension and the Steven Adams injury. If both of them were on this basketball team and playing, they would be definitely in the dark horse contender tier for me.
Yes. Okay. So I have, that is, the Grizzlies are my 19th team.
Yeah, they're the top of that tier for me, for sure.
And it's almost the exact same reasons, because I'm like, they're just going through 25 games of Dark Ages right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're just pretty much saying, oh, you guys can all start with your fancy starter blocks. I'm going to run this 100-meter dash in tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And just giving them the biggest disadvantage at the beginning. I feel like this Grizzlies team could start out like 10-15.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Yeah, probably worse, honestly.
And then they end up like over or in the ballpark of 500. Like they'll have to claw their way back.
Because even when Ja comes back, I think a big underrated piece of this is the fact that Steven Adams is out for the entire season.
I didn't realize it was the whole year.
Yeah, he got season-ending surgery like right before opening night or something like that.
Oh. That's very unfortunate because I'm a big fan of
Steven Adams, and the Grizzlies are as well, because he is a huge part of their success since he's gotten there, and the games that he's missed, they have been terrible. And because Jaren Jackson Jr. is forced to be their, like, they just don't, the reason why I think is not necessarily just because Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't like what ideal Steven for playing Adams 5. Yeah, it's the main thing is the depth at the big position, especially with Brandon Clark, also probably going to be out this entire season as well, because he just tore his ACL at the end of the season last year. So I'd be surprised if he does come back, it'll be around playoff time, around that range at least. So that it's tough because now they've signed Bismack Biyombo as a rotation big coming off the bench. I heard this, so this isn't original thought to me, but I heard a quote that was like, if you're signing Bismack Biyombo, like over the past like 5 or 6 years now, the team that has signed Bismack Biyombo that's been just like a sign that team, like there's something wrong something wrong happened with that team season, and that resulted in them signing Bismack Biyombo.
He's like one of the 4 horsemen of the poverty franchise.
Yeah.
It's like Bismack Biyombo, Taj Gibson,
except
Ricky Rubio.
If the 4 horsemen came after the thing had already happened.
Yeah, they didn't show that it was happening.
Yeah.
That would be that would be like a fun opposite of Mount Rushmore. If this guy shows up to your team, you're going to be bad is it Chris Paul?
Wait, why?
Is Chris Paul the guy that goes to your team, and then when he leaves, you have 3 years, and then you're bad? Because, like, think about it. Was at New Orleans.
Yeah.
They were okay. Leaves. A couple years later, bad. Until Anthony Davis got there. Right?
Yeah.
Then he goes to
2011, 2012 when he left New Orleans. And they got AD right away, basically that next draft, I guess. But they were still bad for a while, yeah. I mean,
for a couple years, okay. Goes to LA. They're good. Yeah. Then he leaves. They had a longer get to bad, but they got bad. Never got terrible.
I mean, what great player leaving a team doesn't, like, the team's usually bad. No, but
the fact that it's a slow fuse. That it's like
slow fuse.
They don't go bad the next year. It's like a slow burn.
Both of the teams that you just listed, if they did go bad at any point, it was definitely the next year, right? The Hornets were bad right after he left. The Clippers were good.
This is off the cuff. I need to think about this more. There's got to be somebody that is like an omen of bad times to come.
And like even
Rajon Rondo. Just kidding.
Even like the Clippers, though, if you want to like when he left the Clippers, I don't know if they were ever bad. Like
no, because they were the most fun 8 seed in the history of 8 seeds.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think there might have been a year between there where they were bad, but
they were like 7 sixth men. There was like 7 of them that would all be sixth men on almost every other NBA team.
Yeah,
and somehow they formed just this ball of like, don't sleep on us.
They had 2 of the 3 finalists for Sixth Man of the Year was on the same team.
That was like Lou Will going banana crazy.
And Montrezl Harrell. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild era of basketball there. Oklahoma City?
And they were good after he left. Well, not good. Okay. They were bad, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
They were controlled bad. It was like on purpose.
Like if anything, Chris Paul planted the seeds for things to grow really well there. So
Chris Paul is not a horseman of the apocalypse.
I don't think so.
He's the Johnny Appleseed of the NBA. Where he plants seeds, leaves, and they grow in a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
But I have it completely backwards. That would actually be what are those things called? Cryptids. NBA cryptids.
I don't know what that is.
No, that's not the thing I'm trying to think of. They're like the boogeyman is Sasquatch is a cryptid. And the Mothman. It's like conspiracy theory animal things.
Like folklore?
Chupacabra is a cryptid, I think. There's like a goat man that lives in New Jersey. It's like a cryptid. I'm not crazy. I think they're called cryptids.
I've never heard of that, but I'm just confused why you're bringing up the word and what it pertains to.
Oh, I just think it would be a fun, cool episode to do like NBA. Maybe it'd be folk heroes, NBA folk heroes. So you take a folk hero, and then like Chris Paul is Johnny Appleseed. It's a bad idea. Throw it out the window. Delete it. I'm getting done. I'll think about it more.
Half-baked ideas.
It's honestly maybe just right now it's a batter. I don't even know if we could call it baked. It's just a batter in my brain.
Yeah.
But anyway, looking at this tier that is just in limbo in just the Great Depression, a lot of them don't have their picks. A lot of them just have guys they're paying a bunch of money. I feel like I'm describing. I don't even need to put a label to this. Not everyone doesn't have their picks, but just there's so many teams that are just like
it's just the Bulls that don't, right?
Bulls don't. Grizzlies don't, do they?
Who would they have got it given up for?
I thought they didn't have their picks.
They might not, but I just
the Nets
missing out on.
Oh, they get them back. I guess.
They
got
Nets
a lot
have
of them back.
The Bulls are the ones that don't. Raptors, I don't think they've traded any picks recently.
Maybe I'm just crazy.
The Grizzlies, the only picks that I can think of that would be gone is like for Marcus Smart, right? That was like 1 pick, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't a ton. I'm delusional. But they're all just the same of like, we're just waiting. We're not bad enough to really be bad.
Yeah.
But we're just waiting. Tickle. One of us will tickle the playoffs, maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just waiting. And again, that tier, these 5 teams we're talking about were the Nets, Grizzlies, Raptors, Bulls, and Jazz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have Jazz at 24, Raptors at 23. I guess I'll put the Bulls at 22. No, I'll slide the Nets to 22 and Bulls to 21 and Grizzlies at 20. The Bulls, though, is a team I wanted to at least touch on a little bit with the
DeMar talk.
Yeah, DeMar, I mean, just all their stuff there is like, DeMar's on an expiring deal, obviously, and they just don't have a lot going there. I think that coaching, I think Billy Donovan will probably be the first coach to get fired this year. I'm guessing. And not necessarily that it's all his fault. It's just like, that's the trend of things when a team is like, what do we do? Like the first button they always press is fire the coach. And also, but he's not helping his case right now, I don't think, with the way he's been running the way he's been running their offense with Kobe White as the primary ball handler. And not like DeMar DeRozan is by far their best playmaker on this team.
Just player.
Well, I mean, Levine is a great player, obviously, but DeRozan is the best play as far as playmaking.
Yes,
DeRozan is like the key, and they don't have him in the position to play make near as much as he should.
He is their Jordan Clarkson. Just kidding. My brain broke.
He should be their Jordan Clarkson. They're not using him like that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. And so like he should be being used like the way he was in San Antonio, honestly, because of just the lack of point guards on this roster. And even the people that are point guards are not really point guards in the pure sense of the word.
They're like, they do everything else a point guard's supposed to do well, except for what point guards originally did. Yeah. Alex Caruso does that point guard thing outside of the offensive part of point guard.
Yeah.
He like does everything else really well.
And he's fine like dribbling up the ball and passing it, but he's not like a guy who creates anything with the ball in his hands.
You don't like run an offense through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they definitely should set DeRozan up in some more spots to do that. And the other thing I would say is, Patrick Williams has not looked good so far. And if they want to build something like to actually keep competing with this Chicago core, that's who I like. The Bulls are a team who I think could go to the Blazers and give the Blazers what they need for shipping off the rest of capable contention level players that are on the Blazers right now. Brogdon and Jeremy Grant. So
Jeremy Grant's a lot of money.
Yes, but the Bulls, like he was a big target for the Bulls last season, or whenever that was when he got traded to the Blazers a couple of years ago now.
Yep.
That was a big thing with the Bulls. They were talking about whether or not they should go all in right now and trade Patrick Williams to get Jeremy Grant to upgrade at that spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that happening, honestly, right now. I don't know if you're Chicago, if you really want that, because for the long term, I don't know what it really accomplishes. But
no, I was saying, sorry, from the Portland side, to be in the money area, I think Jeremy Grant is like aggressively vital to making sure they're above the minimum.
Oh. Yeah. They would have to get some salary back. So,
which I think the Bulls could do, but and that's the thing that we don't need to super dive into now, but that's what my first brain was. I said that poorly. It was more that like Portland has to stay above because Jeremy Grant's like a third of their salary.
That's Lonzo Ball makes 20.
Just watching.
Yeah, and he makes over $20 million a year, so he could be a piece. Patrick Williams, because he was the fourth pick in the draft, makes a decent amount. He makes $10 million a year.
Oh, yeah.
Kobe White is on that deal that you hated this offseason, so I think you could see an upgrade from Kobe White to Malcolm Brogdon and Patrick Williams to Jeremy Grant. Throw in Lonzo Ball for some of that money. You might need to throw in a tad bit more money to make it work all the way, but if not, then that works.
Yeah,
I'd have to try it out in the trade machine, but that's just in terms of a basketball fit, makes a lot of sense to me for the Bulls to kind of complete their team in a way to actually make
a playoff push.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that would be able to do that. Adding Brogdon to this team to add some more like ball handling capabilities of like a veteran savviness,
and then give you any offense from your four, just absolutely,
and defense, the big thing, but both. For sure. Having Patrick Williams just be what he's supposed to be is like what
everybody thought he would be. Yep.
Yeah, is what Jeremy Grant would do for you. So, yeah, that will do it for that tier, I think.
Yep.
Moving on to my next tier is called Feisty.
Ooh.
And so I have the Magic as the bottom team in this tier. Which is 19th. So the Orlando Magic are my 19th team. And I don't know if you wanted to say your 19.
My 19
is
also the Orlando Magic.
Nice. All right. So we're on the same page there. I'm thinking, I don't know, I like this team a lot. That's why I put them in the feisty tier instead of limbo or too early.
I also think that if you give up, they're way better than almost every other team X-name maybe the Pistons if things explode for the Pistons.
Yeah.
To be in the, like, not quite. But if you, like, let them, maybe it's even half of this season. Maybe we go into the All-Star break, and then coming out of the All-Star break, the Magic are a team that could just go crazy. Because they seem like they're just on this, like, tipping point where they're, like, constantly simmering just close to Magic.
Yeah, and they've got two fantastic, like,
build-around type of guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe not one. I think Paolo's, like, the only guy that's, like, I would, like, build around him alone. But with him, and we're talking about Wagner?
Yeah, Franz. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should pick which one. Them combined, I think, is something that you can build around and, like, get away with a lot. Like, those two dudes combined do a lot of good.
And I think I would be I'm on more the side of you could definitely build around Franz as a number one.
More than Paolo?
Not necessarily more than Paolo.
Oh, just
they both can't. Like, I think that's an argument though right now. I think Franz argument in terms of projecting forward. I think Paolo has the higher ceiling. Franz is better right now though.
Yes.
And also, I believe that Franz's ceiling is also really high. Like, I think Franz could be a borderline top 10 player in the NBA at his peak. He could be. That's like the ceiling. Paolo's like top 5. That's like his ceiling.
But this is ceiling. Like,
mm-hmm.
Most players don't get their ceiling. That's
mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
But so what Franz reminds me of is just a supersized Gordon Hayward. Like what Gordon Hayward was with the Jazz. Like he was a really good number one on the Jazz. Like that was a really good team. It's sad that it ended the way it did. But
preach.
Mm-hmm. But Franz is like just a actual like supersized
larger version.
Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of the same skills. He can shoot really well. Can pass the ball, dribble the ball.
I think he's smart too. I think that's a big part of it. Is he's not like this guy that's got all those things that like, why did you do that, guy?
Mm-hmm.
He like is just not dumb, which I think is good.
Mm-hmm, for sure. But that's I think been a big separator for them, like from him to Paolo in games where they've been like statistically, it's like they had like just as good of a game as each other. But most of the time, it's like Franz is just doing all the intangible things that you want to see. It's not that Paolo lacks a ton in that area, but he plays more like a young player. At this moment
in time, he's behind there.
Yeah, he plays more like a young player than Franz. Franz plays like a savvy veteran at a lot of moments.
Same draft class or one apart?
One apart. Franz is a year older.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, I wholeheartedly agree.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So that's a fun team we have there. They've got a lot of point guards to choose from. They have to land on one for the future. Right now, I think Fultz honestly is. It's good to see him having like an actual solid career. Being
a capable basketball player. Like he's quietly done it, but being like, okay.
Yeah. Like I think he's like for sure their best point guard right now.
Which is considering they have like this weird addiction of grabbing as many of them as they can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a statement. Like there's a lot of high blue chip type of guys in their point guard room. Mm-hmm. He's also one of them. Obviously, number 1 overall pick. Just crazy things happened outside of basketball that made basketball harder. But no, I think that your sentiment of like it's good to see him be a productive member of an NBA team is facts.
Yeah, for sure.
Big facts.
Jonathan Isaac is back too. I haven't caught too much tape of him yet, but yeah, that'll be something to delve into within the next week or so. Yeah, so Magic are by 19. Number 18. Right now, I have the Pacers. The order doesn't mean too much to me. It's more about the tiers, honestly.
I'm way higher on the Pacers than you are. That kind of shocks me.
Like the I could put the Pacers as high as 15.
My Pacers are 13.
You have Pacers at 13.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just because they're playing so good. So juicy.
Oh, and you're taking it more like power rankings in terms of like how teams are performing right now.
Like I get like where right now, make a list, who's looked at,
which I think is like the traditional way to do power rankings. I guess it's hard for me to separate myself from how good I think these teams are like
yeah,
in a vacuum or like in a playoff series.
Yes.
That type of thing, Because
I've got the Pacers at 13. Anyway,
so
we'll get to that in 5 teams.
I got the Pacers at 18. Love me some Ty Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, Bruce Brown, Brucey B, Miles Turner. I'm just naming players. Buddy Hield. So they've got some pieces there. They've got a fun, dynamic offense, spearheaded by the minds of Rick Carlisle and Tyrese Halliburton melded together. They're a really good fit, honestly. So, yeah, Pacers are 18. Number 17, and well, I guess to give a little bit more insight on Pacers, I feel like they could make a playoff push this season. They're in a similar range to the Magic to me, but maybe a little bit ahead just because they have more.
Their pieces are older.
Yeah, pieces are older for sure. Also, should have mentioned Wendell Carter Jr. on the Magic. He often goes overlooked, and he should not. So I'm going to just say his name here. Wendell Carter Jr. has been a very solid NBA center in Orlando. And yeah, so that should do it for the Pacers as well. Number 17. Would you like to go first on this one?
Yeah. My 18 is the Hawks.
Oh, yeah. You have 18. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just the Hawks. Exactly as advertised. Yeah. 17, I have the Heat.
Wow. I guess that makes sense.
It was lame as garbage to sit Jimmy Butler in your game 3.
Yeah.
And he sat already? Are you Eric, come on.
Like, well, I don't think he makes that decision. but yeah.
I just thought that was lame, and that's like a huge part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Bam's looked good. I mean, he just decimated the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Bam is, I mean, not that he's ever looks terrible, but Bam's looked good.
The only reason why I don't have the Heat here is because they're not in this tier for me. Like, because of like this, like what I've been saying is like, it's not necessarily a clear break in talent or like the capability of the team necessarily. It's more like stylized, like what different pockets, what kind of different situations. What did you say? Like
where in your brain, like.
Yeah, what their ceiling kind of is in a way. Like the Heat, I would take much more seriously as a playoff opponent than any of these teams that we've said so far. And,
I also agree, but right now they are in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, makes sense for sure.
Mentally, because they sat Jimmy Butler lame.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Kyle Lowry's like almost 40 years old.
I wish that was like a joke, but he's like.
He's 38, I think.
He's like closer than people think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got the Heat here.
Mm-hmm, makes sense.
And
at 17.
At 17, and it's honestly, it's really the fact that they're 1 and 2. And their like losses aren't the worst. I didn't love the not playing Jimmy Butler thing. That really, really bugged me. That's why I brought it up like 4 times.
Yeah, it makes sense.
At 16, or what's your 17?
My 17 is at Atlanta.
Okay, so we just flip-flop. Or not flip-flop there, but...
Yeah, so... And I guess what I mean by feisty in this tier is I could see them making a playoff spot, like being in the top 8 when by the time the playoffs are going. And just be kind of fun, fun little story. So that's who I have at 17 is the Hawks. Number 16, I'll go with the Thunder here at 16.
Oh, I have the New York Knickerbockers.
Okay, I have them pretty shortly as well.
Yeah. I'm really bad about not getting emotionally invested in my tier list. So there's some guys that I just like that are their team's definitely higher just because I like them.
Yeah.
That may or may not be the Thunder. We won't hear the Thunder's name for a hot minute on my list.
Okay. But I just felt like I couldn't put them in the tier above because the tier above this one is dark horse contenders, and I don't see the Thunder as a contender.
So okay, that's weird to me because like I would argue that they're one move away, and that in my brain is a dark horse. Not from winning a title, but they're one win away from being a terrifying like playoff team in my brain. Because like if everyone takes a baby step up, let's say
I don't think there's a clear move though. What's the move? Do you think there's like
big?
But that would make them a title. Like Shea right now, being the best player on a championship team, I'm not saying it's impossible.
I think it's close.
It is close.
I think he's on a list of 10 guys, 15 guys. Well, yeah, we did our top 10
list. It's not even really about that. It's about like Shea's just it's not like he's on the tier of like no doubt. Like this guy's only, but
that list is short.
Yeah, but and then the team around him is just like they have major issues with how like it's fun. I love the guys on the team and I love some of like what they have moving forward. But like as far as like things you need to be a really good basketball team right now.
Here's one move.
What?
They go get Paul George.
That would be enticing.
That would definitely make them a contender.
Oh, that would put them in at least the dark horse contender tier. Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's just because I'm way too high on OKC. I knew it when they came out of your mouth at 16. I'm like, I'm just too high on them.
But the thing is, I've heard people put the Thunder higher than me. Preseason, Kevin O'Connor had him at 15. So I mean, like I'm in that same range. But
yep. No, I don't think you're wrong. Because all of these, for all extensive purposes, starting pretty much at 16-ish, these are all teams that we could see in the playoffs. 16 to like 10 to 8-ish are like teams that you could see in the playoffs, but not like wrecking the world.
Yeah, and like the thing is, if we're going by regular season, I think the Thunder are probably going to end up higher than 16 in terms of like what seed they'll be. But as far as who I feel comfortable with, like saying that they could make a push for the title or like that type of thing, I think their ceiling is just a little bit short of that.
It's all fun and games until.
But see the move that you're talking about, making a move for Paul George. I guess the reason why I haven't factored that in, and I did factor in moves for the Blazers, is because for the Blazers, I feel like those moves will happen. For the Thunder, I lean probably not.
It's more likely that the Blazers moves happen than not, and the Thunder's like, oh, they might do something if things like if they have a really good regular season stretch, you might see Are you talking
about GM? Sam Presti?
Yeah, Sam Presti. I couldn't get Scott Foster out of my head.
Scott Foster. Ref, yeah. I was like,
what is going on?
Sam Presti. The guy with the cool glasses.
Cool glasses, all-time great GM.
Mm-hmm.
If they're like a really good team and are like messing around with the top of the West record-wise in, we'll call it 30 games, if they're like, I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it because I don't know. But if they're playing well and they genuinely do seem like, oh, we're one big move away, go get a Cat or go get a Paul George or go get, like we talked about it when I gushed over OKC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If they go, I think that if they're in a good position, we could see him do that. And I just love the Thunder so much.
Mm-hmm.
I just have never had anything bring me joy that I don't like. I'm not like actually that invested in.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Celtics, they make or break my day sometimes.
Yeah.
My children, aggressively invested in my children.
Mm-hmm.
But the Thunder, that's just pure happiness. When they're bad, I just slough it off and don't care.
Yeah.
They're just pure, unadulterated dopamine to the brain.
And the reason why you slough it off is because I feel like I'm in that same spot, and that's kind of what limits them for me, is because like I know that it's early on them. You know, like they don't have a good, well-built roster for competing right now in the sense of like they don't have shooting, and like the shooting that they do have is like Davis Bertans and Isaiah Joe, like some guys that they're really good shooters. They don't do a whole lot else, and so like they're only on the floor for spacing reasons, and everybody else is just a like average to below average.
Well, you see this in my hand? This ticket? It's a ticket to the bandwagon. I'm not saving you a seat. I'm on it firmly.
I mean, I love the Thunder, and I would like them to be good. I just am saying I'm being realistic about the fact that they don't have shooting on their roster, and they don't like in order to compete. Like, there's no way like for me to consider them a good dark horse contender, I need to be able to see a world in which they beat the Nuggets in a playoff series. That's just not going to happen in a million years.
That's like there's 3 teams that can do that.
No, I think there's a lot more teams that I could say, like, if things just go all right for them, like it's just like the Nuggets, they have 0 things to even come close to defending Jokic.
That's true. That's very true.
And then they have, like, the thing that you need to beat Denver is capable shooters, because that's what Denver it gives up in a lot of ways with the way our team defends the pick and roll, to have guys rotating to tag the roll and stuff. We leave the corners open.
So what I'm hearing right now is Derek White Finals MVP.
The Celtics is a team that could definitely beat the Nuggets.
Oh, yeah, that's a given for sure.
But the Thunder is just like they don't have enough yet.
Haters gonna hate, man. I'm just kidding. I know you're you're building a completely logical argument, and my only defense is I don't want them to be that low. Yeah. That's like the only argument I have, because everything you're saying is factual. They don't have great shooters, or the ones they're
the worst shooting team in the NBA.
The shooters they have are guys you do not want to be playing that many minutes.
Yeah,
they're the guys who are like, yeah, just sit on the bench. We'll give you a couple minutes.
Yeah,
sometimes,
which
is not good. That's not a good place to be in. I just want them to be better. Mm-hmm. Really, really, really bad.
Yeah,
and I'm fully aware that my argument is dumb, but I'm sticking to it. A dumb argument has never stopped me before. I acknowledge that my opinion is probably just factually wrong, but
I don't hate it though. How high do you have the Thunder?
Top 10. Not high top 10.
Yeah.
But they are in the top 10. I just love them so much. They bring me joy. I will not gush about them that long when we get to them on mine.
Okay.
Because we did a pretty extensive look. But if the Thunder fanship was a double-decker bus, I'm right behind the people that stuck with them past Russ. So there's people that were loved Russ and stuck with him when they were good. A lot of people got off the bus. Mm-hmm. That's when I got on. So I'm I don't know if the more prestigious to be on the second tier of the double-decker bus or the ground level tier. I'd like to think the top tier is better.
Yeah.
But I'm right behind the guy that has 8 Russell Westbrook jerseys in the bandwagon.
Makes sense.
On the double-decker bus. Anyway, love the Thunder. My Thunder aren't yet, because that was your 16.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had the Knicks at 16. Who is your 15 as we continue down our top power rankings?
My 15 is a team that I could maybe switch around with the Thunder a little bit. I just see this team as a little bit higher in terms of the ceiling, and that is the Minnesota Timberwolves.
That's my 15. Okay, we're back to same wavelength here.
Uh-huh.
I just think that my love of Ant is a big part of it, and he's a dude. He came out of the gate swinging. Mm-hmm. In all of the games that they've played thus far, he is if it was a question, which I don't think it ever was, he is just the guy.
Yes.
And then the low-key part of this T-Wolves team that I love, defense, solid. Mm-hmm. They all have just made it work.
Yeah, I mean, they have great defensive personnel. I mean, the only weak link really is Cat, and I've always hesitated to say he's a complete weak link because he's 7 foot tall and he can block shots. So,
and then the guy they bring off to Cat, go sit down. Now's Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Their offense as a whole has been not great. It's been pretty much Ant. It's been their offense.
Yeah.
But I think Ant, if somebody else gets a little comfy, whoever Cat gets flipped for, maybe gives Ant a little help on the offensive end, that this team could be pretty good.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But yeah, there's the Wolves at 15. At 14, I have the New York Knicks. And I guess, I don't know if we haven't really talked about the Knicks yet, but Tom Thibodeau coach team, I kind of feel like they might border on the limbo tier for me as well.
They're a weird deal, because there's some nights where you're like, oh. Mm-hmm. And then there's some nights where you're like,
Because I don't think they really have a core right now that is like something that you can clearly say this is our championship formula, or like this is our team. These are the guys we're building around for a championship.
They just went to 2017 through 2019 Villanova and were like, give us every guy you have.
Yeah,
and then
Tom Thibodeau is maxing them out.
Is just making them as like, how many minutes can you play? Add 5 and we'll do it.
Yeah,
it's not going to work long term, I don't think. I think that their move is to move Julius Randle. I think that's the move for them to do, to try to get, if they are in limbo, that's kind of can be the piece that propels them out of limbo.
Yeah.
I think your marching into the future should be a Jalen Brunson flanked by whoever. But Jalen Brunson is the guy that I think should stick around and be a part of the team longer term.
For sure.
And Randall, as much as that crazy, weird explosion of All-Star game, I think?
All-NBA.
He was All-NBA.
He was third team All-NBA.
That's what it was. Because he was the third best power forward in basketball.
And there's a literal quotes that season, people saying, right now, Julius Randle is better than Chris Bosh ever was. That is a thing people said. That
is cool. And I remember being like, man, Julius Randle. But the other thing I remember is the playoffs started, and then Julius Randle looked like a Lakers Julius Randle. Just right back to where everybody had them in terms of their brain. So, yeah, they're fun. They're feisty. Like, I like that tier talk. But they
embody that the most, probably, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's also because their coach is like the embodiment of, you're not a feisty player, leave or get it figured out.
Yeah.
So that's a good place for the Knicks, I think. I've got Cleveland here.
At 14?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's right now. They've been not good.
They've been worse than the Thunder?
I just don't like him as much.
All right. That hurts. Okay,
I need to flip him.
I mean, you can keep him at 14.
No. The more we've talked about it, the more you're right. I need to be consistent, and the Mavericks almost losing to the Spurs cannot be forgiven. This easily.
Yeah.
So, I've already said I have the Pacers at 13, because I'm big on the Pacers. They've been fun to watch. They played good. Current what's going on now. So I'm just going to take a little bit of a flip tool.
12 and 14?
12 and 14. Mavericks will be 14.
Okay. I don't hate that.
Cleveland will be 12. And like I said, I can't defend my OKC thing other than I just want them to be where they're at. That's it. I just want them to be there. These are not good power rankings in terms of like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense logically. It doesn't. I just want it to be. And they're close.
Yeah. No, I get
That's another thing. I think the gap between, we'll call it the start at like 15 to 8 is like semi-close.
Yeah,
it's not this giant, like I would argue the gap from 15, I'll go, the gap between 15 and 18 is about as equal as I think the gap from 15 to 8 is. Like the numbers, obviously, they're different amounts, but like how I look at the teams. Anyway, different tiers. What a revolutionary concept that I just thought of. Making a tier list instead of a straight up number list. What a great idea. I should do that next time. Anyway, so yeah, Cleveland, why would you think Cleveland should be higher?
Well, I'll get to that when I...
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
Mavericks is where I'm at. Sorry.
Yes,
Mavericks.
That's who your 14 is. Mine 14 was the Knicks. The thing with the Cavs, though, that I'll mention right now is how I remember we had this conversation in one of our previous episodes, how you were very off the Cavs all of a sudden, which
I just don't like Donovan Mitchell.
As I was editing that episode, I was thinking about it more because I was like, well, I feel like this came out of nowhere. Where you back in the summer, number one team that you're talking about was the Lakers, is like the moves you like the most. But the only other team you brought up as like you loved their moves and you thought they made good moves to improve and things like that were the Cavs.
Because like, they did. I just don't like Donovan Mitchell. I can't get it out of my head.
but one of the things you said last episode was that you think the Cavs are worse this season than they were last year.
I don't like Donovan Mitchell. I can't. Okay, so if people have listened to the podcast for any amount of time, honestly, 2 episodes, you're going to get the thing that sometimes I'm in factual logic mode. And then other times, my heart's in the driver's seat. And tonight, heart is in full control and has facts and logic in the trunk tied up. There's I can't.
So what did Donovan Mitchell do to you?
Nothing. And people would be like, it's the COVID. Nothing to do with COVID. I don't care about that. Like, he had his whole thing in the weird beef with Rudy Gobert. I don't know why.
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, I know a little bit about that, but like,
that's not the first thing that pops in my head about Donovan Mitchell. It's just that maybe someone just did me dirty with him on 2K. They just cooked me, and I like associated with him. It's like when a chick has a dream that you cheated and blames you in real life. It has to be something dumb like that. But he just bums me out. I wanted him to win Rookie of the Year really bad, but that's probably more my hatred of
Ben Simmons and the Sixers.
Of the Sixers. Not even Ben Simmons. I have nothing against the man that doesn't like basketball but gets paid millions of dollars to play it. But it's more the allegedly doesn't like basketball, sorry. Heart's driving tonight. Don't like Donovan Mitchell.
That's fair.
But they needed perimeter shooting, and they went out and got it. So good job building a team.
Yeah. And all of their guys are like entering their prime, if not like
just sitting in it.
Yeah. I would say
they're on the precipice.
Yeah,
they're either in or on the precipice of their prime.
Yeah.
Or on the edge of glory.
Or below, maybe I would say. Like they're very good players right now, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, but they're also like super young. Like, so they have a lot of years to go still.
Yes.
So
like Evan Mobley is conceivably still 4 or 5 years out of his like true quote unquote prime.
He's 21 years old.
So probably 3 or 4 years out.
So
using 25 as the number.
Yeah. For sure. I would say, like 25 to 30 range is like the prime years. But yeah, so my 13, actually. This is the start of the next tier for me, which is Dark Horse Contenders. So the Knicks were the best team on the feisty tier. At 14, my number 13 is Miami Heat. I have them as what?
Oh, Miami.
How are they not? They were literally just in the finals. I feel like they have to be at least considered in the Dark Horse Contender tier.
Hearts driving. He sat Jimmy Butler. Weak.
Who sat Jimmy Butler?
I'm blaming Eric. It's not Eric's fault.
It obviously is not, because the coach, like Ty Lue, very public about how he had no idea who was available every game for the Clippers because they had so many people in and out of load management. He literally kept a note card that he had the trainers just update. And so he would hold that note. He would have the note card with him every game in his pocket, so he could look down at it when he's making substitutions to know who is available and who is not.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a cool story. Nebraska ball legend.
Yeah. So he obviously wasn't the guy picking who was. It was just like guys are.
The Clippers might be a different monster because of who they had.
Yeah, but I think it's a lot of the training staff still to do with like who is like with the Norm Powell and the Paul George. Kawhi Leonard is a different thing.
Yeah.
But those other guys, I think it is the training staff who are like not necessarily making decisions, but are.
Well, it is Jay Sable's fault. He's the head trainer for the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Well, Jay let Jimmy play, and maybe they'd be higher in my tier list.
Was it just rest, or did he have have soreness or tightness?
I don't know. I just saw he was not playing.
Yeah. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if it was just rest, I guess. But
game 2.
Yeah, I mean that's not a great look. but I wouldn't be surprised either.
Did he have to go to his barber to get his hair fixed again? Which is, I love that move, actually. I can't dog on my boy Jimmy like that. That's a great all-time troll NBA. I'm waiting for the NBA to have a rule. And I don't know how you'll enforce it.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, then they're going to get into like a wild problem.
I don't think they should. I think this helps the NBA, if anything. Like, there's so many people who don't care about the NBA who know about Jimmy Butler doing that stuff. You know what I mean? Just like on TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, because that is awesome.
Yeah, and I think it helps.
And it's my favorite is the NBA broadcast doesn't know what to do. So they didn't do his 2K stuff. When they show the 5 faces, it's just emo Jimmy Butler just staring at you in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're definitely going with it so far. But the dark horse contenders tier. So Miami, is who I had at 13. You have the Pacers at 13. We've already gone into that.
Yep.
At 12, I have the Mavericks.
I have them at 14.
Yeah, and so I'm a tiny bit higher on the Mavericks now than I was entering the season.
They do seem to have gotten things, I don't want to say figured out, but it seems more like a team and less like Kyrie, Luka, and then a bunch of people that have to play basketball with them.
Yeah, I feel like a billion. The reason why I feel better about the Mavs right now is because I feel a billion times better about Derek Lively in particular. Because he showed out his first game. Like, he was ridiculous. I think he had like 16 and 8 or something like that, but the hustle, like, he was getting every single like hustle play, it seemed like, that was available. Like, it was his. And it was just so surprising to me how like low a lot of people were on him in the draft, saying that like apparently he didn't make a single shot outside of the paint until like 3 or 4 months into his freshman season at Duke. Which is insane, especially when he's touted as like a floor spacing big, like somebody who can shoot.
He is just walking glue. Is that like a way that you would put it to, like, the Mavs team didn't have a glue guy, and he's just like the ultimate, I'll do it all. He's
just like the perfect piece of like what they've had with Dwight Powell this whole time, like just a young, rejuvenated version of that, very young and spry, athletic guy that can protect the rim, can just have a big catch radius for Luka to throw to. That's like really the big, like, as long as he does those two things, it's going to be good. But the fact that he's already showing flashes of being able to play make out of the short roll, which adds a whole nother wrinkle that the Mavs have never had, where the guy that Luka is passing off to in the pick and roll, he can make decisions too, to dump it off to guys in the dunker spot and stuff like that. Like, they have more layers to that offense, that boring static offense that they always run.
It becomes dynamic. It gets an entire extra dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not Luka assist or Luka score. Mm-hmm. It can be Luka pass to assist, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but that just took your 2-man into a 5-man offense. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so that'll be a fun development to see if he can do that. Also, if we ever see him actually shoot, he's shooting his free throws well. And there were legends of him in high school being able to shoot threes. So we'll see if that ever comes out.
And free throw shooters means you are a pure shooter. Mm-hmm. You're a good free throw shooter. You just got to dig and work at it to be a better 3-point shooter. Because free throw is
groundwork,
the purest shooting test.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I heard that, but I think it's a real thing.
It is a pretty. That's like in scouting, looking at the free throw percentage is oftentimes a better indicator than their 3-point percentage on how good of a 3-point shooter they are. Which is just
at the NBA level.
Yeah, which is just an interesting thing to think about. But so the next thing is number 11. Or who is your 12? Did you say
Cleveland?
Oh yeah, Cleveland. We already talked about
I moved them up because
yeah. Number 11 for me, I have I have to decide on which team I put here. I'll probably put the Kings here just because of the ceiling, I think, is a tad bit lower than the teams right above them. But yeah, so I have the Kings here at number 11 in the Dark Horse Contenders tier. De'Aaron Fox is the man. He might win Clutch Player of the Year again this year. Who knows? We're only 3 games in, but watching those Kings games so far, the Lakers one the other night was a blast. That went to overtime. De'Aaron Fox was on a bum ankle, so I don't know if he might be out now for the next few games, but because he did up his ankle pretty bad in that one, but he came back in the game and was playing for a little while to make sure they put that one to bed. But they have Keegan Murray, I think, is the biggest key the swing factor for this team.
That puts him higher or lower.
For sure, because so far this season, he's looked like he is taking a step up. And if that sustains, like he has been taking that step up and that sticks, then the Kings are definitely, like you've talked about, how they're probably not going to be as good as they were last year because you said like they probably have hit their ceiling, and now people
know what's coming. It's not like not panic. No, I have said that and I stand by it still.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's wrong, but the thought of like them hitting their ceiling and the rest of the West rising up to catch up with them, what changes that a little bit is if Keegan Murray does take this step that it seems like he might be taking, that coupled with the Kings being able to have counters to the counters, and be able to continue to evolve their system, that'll be a big determining factor for sure. And so, yeah, the Kings is who I have at 11. Who do you have at 11?
My 11 is the Pelicans of New Orleans.
Yep, I was debating saying them there.
And the Pelicans have things that I'm like, everything about it, I just feel like they've never overperformed. Like they have they've had good stretches and they've played well, but that's when they were people thought they were going to be terrible. And then Brandon Ingram looks like a legit second guy or first guy in some situations.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since then, I feel like they've never been overlooked. They've always been right around where they're expected to or right below. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like the Kings, because I've got the Kings next. The Kings are my 10.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Pelicans and then Kings. And for not the exact flip version, but I just feel better about the Kings cooking a little bit more.
I agree.
Pelicans.
I agree with the floor part. Kings, I feel better about being in the playoffs than the Pelicans.
Well, it's not even in the play. It's just I've seen the Kings do it with my eyes.
Yeah.
The Pelicans I've seen do it, but not in the playoffs or sustained, or they also were I guess we'll know. I feel like if Zion's out, the Pelicans just go.
Yeah, the Pelicans, they have to be healthy.
And I feel like the Kings can maneuver around guys hurt better. They still would also go down dramatically if Sabonis or Fox is out for a while.
Mm.
But I just feel like the Pelicans, maybe it's just because the guys are more injury prone.
Yeah,
maybe that's part of the why.
That is exactly why I think Fox is just less likely to be out for a long period of time than Zion is.
Because what was the number? Zion hasn't played.
His
most games in a year was 50.
114 through 4 years, right? Yeah. I think.
That's just crazy. But hopefully, I want to see Zion healthy. I feel like I always hate on Zion. I would love to see that dude healthy because he would be so fun to watch.
He's an animal, yeah.
He is so fun to watch, but you get 65 games of whatever Zion does.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It's over. It would be so fun. But I'm just worried that it's a Derrick Rose thing. Because hindsight being 2020, when your go-to move is I'm faster than you and I'm going to jump stop onto both knees, kind of makes sense why his knees
Yeah.
He adapted his game and he became not the MVP level player, but became a good player in a different way. Adapted, was a professional athlete, but
but D Rose was only athleticism. Zion has his size to lean on as well,
which could also be a downfall in terms of the staying healthy.
Yeah, for sure. But
which is, I guess, a given. But.
I don't think he's ever going to get to the point where he's not physically imposing.
Yeah.
He's always going to have some girth to him, if you will.
Max.
And also just the skill of how well he finishes in the lane through contact. his capability of handling the ball at his size the way he does. He's just a reincarnation of Charles Barkley, really, which is an insane thing to say.
Which, if Charles Barkley gets that ring, wins that one championship,
which he very well could have.
No, he could have, and it would have been on his shoulders solely. Because that's
against the best team in NBA history, probably 93 goals.
How much higher is he regarded in people's? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Charles Barkley is a guy that people like look at like, oh, doesn't have a ring, but
he's still considered top 25 all time.
And I just like if he does get that ring, how much higher is he?
He might be like 12.
Which is
in that range.
No, he'd
be around.
He's not just the funny, goofy, dumb guy on TNT. Where he at?
Yeah, where he play or something.
Where he play. Yeah. Which is a great segment if you have not seen it yet, everybody.
No, for sure. So Pelicans, I think, they have a higher ceiling than the Kings just because of Zion, Ingram, McCollum for that matter. Valanciunas, and then all of their wing depth, the young guys that they have on their roster with Dyson Daniels, Herb Jones, Troy Murphy, or Trey Murphy. Yeah, Trey Murphy, not Troy. But those guys, all really nice, young, switchable defense first wings for the most part, other than Trey Murphy is more of a shooter first, I guess, but. And then the Sixers is who I have at 10. Is this 10? No, now it's 9. And actually, I'm going to go with the Cavs here at 9. I'm going to put Sixers at 8, Cavs at 9, just because I feel like same reason I just said with the Pels over the Kings. I think the Sixers ceiling is higher than the Cavs ceiling for this season.
Mm-hmm. So we went from 10 to 7 or 10 to 8. Right?
9 and 8, yeah.
9 and 8. So my 9 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I will not gush about them more. Mm-hmm. They've played well. One thing that I will touch on, Chet is as advertised. Through multiple games.
Oh, yeah.
He statistically looked good in the same way that Wemby has had his stats, obviously, but then has looked like better than his stats are saying.
Yeah.
I think Chet is in the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
So Chet is as advertised. I am still riding with my Chet not sleeper, obviously, but Chet winning Rookie of the Year is not something that should just be forgotten.
Yeah.
Wemby's look kind of crazy, so I was in a little bit of doubt until I watched Chet, and I'm like, nah, my boy's going to be in the fight until the very end. I think Wemby still wins it probably, but it will actually be a race as opposed to what people thought it was going to be, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a big, I like OKC. That's why they're 9. Delusion, whatever. At 8, I have the Los Angeles Clippers.
Makes sense.
And I think that the reason they're not, because they've played higher.
Yeah.
I think I'm just scared.
Yeah.
Of what always happens to the
Similar
Clippers.
with the Pelicans.
Yes. I think that's why I have them lower, because I'm just scared.
Uh-huh. That's perfectly fair, perfectly reasonable. That is the same reason I have them not much higher. I have them at 7. So,
and Sixers are my 7. So we're all in the. My only wild one out so far has been OKC.
And I think I might change up what I just said again, and I might slide this Clippers up to 6th. Just because I'm feeling that.
It's fine. I'm
feeling the Clippers at 6. I mean, they could even be 5. Honestly, they're anywhere from the 5 to 7 range for me. That's how tiers work. But Sixers. So my dark horse contenders here, from worst to best, I have the Heat, Mavs, Kings, Pels, Cavs, Sixers. Sixers without Harden, obviously, and that's kind of why I put them a little bit higher, just because they are still a very competent team without Harden, and whatever they cash in Harden for, when that does inevitably or hopefully inevitably happen. Whatever they add is going to add on to, this current team, which they were not getting any contribution from to begin with. So Maxi's looking like he's stepping up into that secondary role. It'll be fun to see that. Joel Embiid, obviously one of the most dominant players in the NBA, continuing his run there with the Sixers, and they've got a decent team around him. So I have them at 7 here. And then on to number 6, I have the Golden State Warriors now that I've done the switcheroo with the Los Angeles Clippers. The reason I have the Warriors at 6 is just because their peak, like the peak version of them is a lot less scary than the Clippers to me.
Yep.
Like the peak of both teams, I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think that's a completely fair and logical thing. I just think we're more likely to see peak Warriors than peak Clippers.
Very, very true.
Because peak Warriors is like, is Steph healthy? Is Draymond around?
And Wiggins. I think Wiggins is
a bigger part of that than probably most people, including me, give him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
But it just is Steph 100%. If yes, Warriors are a playoff team.
Yeah, probably.
Because he is just one of those guys. My 6, or do you more you want to talk about the Warriors?
Not a ton, I guess, but like it's just outside of Steph, they just don't have a ton. Like they need one of those young guys to really pop in order for them to for me to feel like they're really amongst like the top teams. And like 6th is really high. Don't get me wrong.
They're definitely below the guys that I would feel confident in going further.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
outside of one team that I have right below them, but
below as in higher, like
sorry, higher
lower number,
yeah,
higher and close to the top.
No, they are. I think that the Bucks. Hear me out.
Wait, what number are we talking here?
I have the Bucks at 6, Warriors at 5.
You have the Bucks at 6.
They have not. Okay, it's hard driving. I made this list before, like right as we were sitting down to start.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's hard been driving this whole list.
Yeah.
Dame looked atrocious, and I think Dame
looked atrocious when?
Last game they played.
But
he didn't get to the free throw line at all.
Did you see game 1?
I understand that. I'm just worried.
Okay.
For Milwaukee fans, when Drew Holiday starts cooking with the most viscous sauce you've ever seen, they're just going to be on suicide watch. They're not ready for the Boston Celtics. The Bucks are bad. They're bad at basketball. If they didn't have Giannis, they're terrible. Chris Middleton's not ready. He's not healthy. Brooke Lopez is showing age. And I think that Dame is going to be affected by the flopping rule a lot. I said it.
Why? More than... not more than, like, a lot of guys, I don't feel like. It's just...
Offensively, I just don't... He has to get to the line like a million times, and I don't know if he will. Because he just didn't look great. He had 7 points.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
He had 39 in game 1. It was easy.
I don't know.
It seems like the way, if he stays healthy, because in the past when we've seen him have seasons where he's not getting to the rim very well or getting to the line, both it's kind of synonymous, but that's when he's had the abdomen injury. He's not near as explosive with that, but right now, so I don't know if he's struggled with that in the last game or something, but
it wasn't allowed. It was 2 games ago because they beat the Heat and he had a 25-point game.
Yeah, but in game 1, that looked like that just showed you exactly what could be with this team.
I think that's their peak, which is good.
It's very good to have the normal Bucks basically as their starting unit, and then their second unit is the Blazers. What the Blazers have been the last few seasons, which isn't a great team, but against bench units,
yeah,
that's your that's what it feels like because of how they stagger the minutes with Dame and Giannis. One of them is always on the floor.
And maybe I just need to get the old Bucks out of my brain. Just the fashion they lost to the Hawks.
Yeah. I mean, it's an 82 game season. Also, the atrocity, complete dumpster fire of a start to the season in terms of personnel, the chemistry within the coaching staff.
Does not help, probably.
Yeah.
So maybe I should view the Milwaukee Bucks are 2-1 in spite of everything that's going on.
That could be a way to spin it, yeah.
More than like, how the F do you lose to the Atlanta Hawks in a not close game?
They lost by 17 and
we're never close. The Hawks were in control the whole game.
But the Hawks aren't like a bad team.
They're not bad, but you're supposed to be this juggernaut Bucks.
Yeah.
I think I'm just a hater. I am for sure.
I'm leaning more on like I need a pretty decent sample size to tell me that they're bad before I'm going to go.
I don't think they're bad.
You said they're bad at basketball. You said that a little bit ago.
I have them at 6. They're not bad at basketball.
Yeah.
But I definitively, confidently am. Celtics are winning the East. I am confident. I was like, I don't know. Let's see. I am confident that the Boston Celtics are winning the East.
Mm-hmm.
After 3 games, probably a little bit wild. I'm still going to stick with it.
I mean, I don't think that's crazy to be confident in the Celtics at all.
It bumped me to the next level of confidence. And it's just because of how the Hawks just did, like, the whole point of what made me scared about the Bucks is how unstoppable and unbeatable, like, just Dame and Giannis going, we're just going to run pick and roll all game. Stop it. And then the Hawks did?
Well, they haven't really been...
or why? If me, fat, stupid, dumb guy that's like basketball is his second sport, can look at your personnel and be like, that's what I would do. That seems like the smart strategic play. Why, when you get into a rut, obviously you can't go into it all the time, teams will beat that. But why, when you're struggling, what was the score at half? 68-47.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you just be like, let's really get into this 2-man game with 2 top 10 players in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the obvious choice. I don't know if Adrian Griffin is a great coach yet. I don't know. But Mike Budenholzer, that was a very common, frequent, and also it has to be pointed out, Giannis has a part to be blamed in this as well. Giannis, very vocal about not wanting to be a screener and roller. Like, he doesn't want to do that.
Then that makes them a worse team. So they're bad at basketball. I'm just kidding.
But I think when put into position, if Giannis comes to the realization that he needs to do that, which he's had to do in the past, he has come to the realization for stretches in postseasons and stuff, where he's like, okay, this is what I got to do right now. I gotta set screens, roll to the rim hard, catch lobs, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made jokes, been sarcastic about it in post game interviews, saying like, "Oh, I'm the highest paid role man in the league."
Yep,
like things like that.
He very clearly doesn't like that.
Yeah, which confuses me because it's not like it's unheard of to have. We've had superstars before be rim runners.
It's like the same thing as Anthony Davis. I'm exactly. The biggest guy, but I refuse to be a 5.
But at least he's fine with being a rim runner. Like that, he plays to his strength there.
Yes. And it's just like the thing.
Amari Stoudemire. It's like the peak, the pinnacle, like probably the best rim runner of all time. And he didn't have a ton. I'm not disrespecting Stoudemire. He had a game outside of that, but that was like the main reason of why he was good.
He got a max contract to play for an NBA team because he can time jumps and dunk extraordinarily well.
Yeah, and 100% deserved that money as well.
No, yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't a Timothy Mozgov situation.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out afterwards after his knee that really hampered his ability, which makes sense. But
once he got to New York, yeah,
and maybe it was part New York, the curse, but I don't know. But yeah, I've got Bucks at 6, Warriors at 5.
Makes sense. I have Warriors at 6, Clippers at 5, which I've already kind of gone into that. But like I'm borderline want to put, and I think I will. No, I'll leave them at 5. I'll leave them at 5. Lakers is who I have at 4.
Same.
I could
currently down to the Orlando Magic by 4 at halftime.
I could definitely flip them around though, the Clippers and Lakers, just because Kawhi and Paul George together, healthy, is something that I would be scared of if I was the Lakers.
For sure should be. I think every team should be, even if you're not just the Lakers.
Yeah. And might feel better about because like the thing with LeBron, like what is his real ceiling right now? If it's true that he's going to be on a minutes restriction all season long, playing between 28 and 30 minutes every night, I just feel like there's that kind of artificially puts a little bit of a ceiling on your team.
If you only have so many minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's like I would imagine that if like for some wild reason the Lakers are like, do we make the playoffs without the play-in? Like, are we a top 6 team in the West? I feel like that would be removed. I feel like we're just gonna let LeBron play and secure the not having a play-in game. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's, as you said, it's artificial. It's not like it's preemptive. It's like, let's get the most out of LeBron when it really, really matters. Also known as the playoffs.
For sure.
I feel like if the playoffs quote unquote start early for the Lakers, LeBron will just play whatever minutes need to be played.
Yeah. And I think this might be the first season we see him not average 25 points a game. Might happen this year. Just because it's hard to do that with in less 25 than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But he got 21 points, I think, in his first 2 games. I don't know what he had after that, but he's been looking solid, definitely.
No, he has not looked bad. It's literally just been the minutes thing.
Then on to the next team. Who do you have at 4, I guess? You have Warriors at 5.
My 4 is Lakers.
Oh, yeah, you already said that. And then my 3, I'm confused. My 5 should be Lakers. How is the 6 or 7? No, yeah, the Cavs were 9, Sixers were 8. I've been off ever since then. Sixers are 8, Warriors are 7, Clippers are 6, Lakers are 5. For me.
Am I missing a team?
You had the Bucks already, so that might be.
That's it.
Yeah.
So who's your 4?
Yeah, so my 4. Well, and I should also mention we've left the dark horse contenders tier. I mentioned when we did, the Sixers were the last team there. This next tier that has the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Lakers on it. That tier is called high ceiling / low floor, which is just basically exactly what it means. They're a team that I could definitely see being a contender, but they definitely have some things that could prevent them from being there pretty easily.
With all of them, it's just injuries. If the wrong guy goes down, problems
for sure. But yeah, so then my number 4 team is the first team in the top tier, which is I just labeled the favorites. I don't love that name for it, but maybe just contenders or legit contenders, something like that. But the first team I have there is the Phoenix Suns at 4. And what I like about the Suns, I honestly have changed my tone a little bit, at least, with the Jusuf Nurkic stuff. Because, I just thought it was going to be a clear downgrade in just about every way. The only thing that I did think about at the start of, he's a better playmaker, obviously. That's one thing he has over Ayton. Probably maybe a little bit higher of just basketball IQ feel for the game. But I was like, there's no way that will outweigh what he takes away from on the defensive end and that kind of stuff, which could still be the case. I'm not saying he's going to be a positive add overall, but it seems like so far that he just might be because of how they've and maybe this is a testament to Frank Vogel as an offensive coach. I didn't know he had this in him, but the offense that they've implemented is so surprising to me. And also it makes me smile a little bit because of how much, you and some other people had the big narrative of this Phoenix Suns team is just going to be like ball hog city. These 3 guys that all just are going to play ISO ball, pass around the rock and just do that. It's very much not that when we've seen them actually play games so far in the preseason. And I don't know if have they even had a game so far in the regular season where all 3 of them have been on the floor? The big 3?
I don't think so.
I don't think they have, but theoretically, what we have seen with those 3 on the floor in the preseason and 2 of them on the floor in the regular season has been very promising with having Jusuf Nurkic has been, just feeding him the ball in the post, attacking mismatches, and also just playmaking from the elbows. Using him as like a Sabonis or a Jokic, if you will, but like he's the pieces he's passing it out to are just two of the absolute best scorers in the league, and a third one who just a few years ago was the league's leading scorer. So it's a pretty nice system they have there, and also all three of those guys very unselfish, very like capable of playmaking. We've seen Bradley Beal, at least in the preseason, a little bit like show off his playmaking chops that he had developed ever since John Wall left. And now that this team is, obviously does not have a point guard in sight, they have Brandon Goodwin and Saban Lee, I believe, are the only 2 point guards on this roster. So Bradley Beal has been like their de facto point guard. So it's been interesting to see that. But I like the Suns from the offense standpoint. Defense is where they'll need the most to go their way for sure. And KD is going to be a huge factor there. KD and Devin Booker, honestly, both are obviously outside of Okogie, who is like an essential player for them now because of that lack of defense in their starting lineup. Okogie is like,
he's huge.
Yeah, definitely needed. But Durant and Booker are the next best defensive players after him there. Mm-hmm. So
I think it's like kind of to put like a phrasing on there. It's just a pick your poison offense.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want to take the open shot? You pick. Which all-star would you like to take the shot?
Yeah, and if not an all-star, there's also Eric Gordon there as well.
It's just pick your poison. Who do you want it to be?
Yeah.
Fun fact, you lose almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't have a whole lot of success. So I think that is it's just, it just works. Shout out to Frank Vogel if it's him, or just shout out to whoever's cooking there, because it is a pretty efficient dish offensively they're cooking.
For sure.
For the Suns. I've got them at 3. I don't know if I said that, but I have them at 3 because
Bucks are outside the top 5. Suns are at 4 for me. At 3, I had the Celtics at one point. Now I have the Bucks. What?
You had the Bucks above the Celtics?
After game 1, I did.
Oh, game 1. Also, that's the other thing. I just am baffled that the Sixers had like they had a great game from Maxey. Mm-hmm. But like Embiid had a very pedestrian Embiid game. It's still a good game. Obviously, it's Joel Embiid. But it wasn't like this insane game. And the Bucks were fighting for their lives.
Yeah. I'll need to watch. I mean, the only game I've watched from the Bucks so far was game 1. So I'll need to
watch game 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe my 6th is probably a little crazy. Hard driving. But putting the Bucks above the Celtics if you watch game 2 is egregious.
I just feel like they have the higher. That's kind of what I've been leading to in all these, is like who has the higher ceiling. And I think there's a case to be made for the Bucks, at least there. I would definitely agree with you. The Celtics are like way far and above like the higher floor with all of the guys that they have there. It's just like,
you don't think our ceiling's higher?
I'm not saying I don't think the ceiling's higher. I'm just saying that it's not like clearly like an unquestionable like contest. Like it's not like there's no contest.
The Celtics will not lose a single game to the Milwaukee Bucks all year.
I'm not even talking about the matchup. I'm just saying that.
No, I know, because matchup Celtics are built to beat the Bucks.
Yeah, and I also don't think it's impossible for the Bucks to beat the Celtics, but
no, they won't once.
I won't be surprised.
They play what, 4 times? 3 times?
4.
Play 4 times regular season? 4-0. Playoffs, 4-0. The Boston Celtics will be 8-0 against the Milwaukee Bucks when they are hosting up the Larry O'Brien Trophy. All
right. We'll keep receipts on that.
Yeah, for sure. Play this clip.
Yeah.
They'll lose the first game.
They'll finally do they'll actually get the 3-0 comeback. Bucks will go up 3-0. Celtics will complete that 3-0 comeback. They almost did against the Heat. Almost made history.
Honestly, I think that was my biggest crystal ball moment in the history of my life. I don't think I'll ever get close to that again.
Oh, yeah.
Other than I said Jimmy Butler would have 69 points.
And you said that it would go 3-1 instead of 3-0. Like you said that they would win game 3.
I thought we would get one game. Like, we're dogs. We'll get one.
Like before they got to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Marcus Smart, don't let us get one, got into my head. Man. Anyway, whatever. It's fine. So your 3 is the Bucks or the Celtics?
The Bucks.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just mentioning that there was
at
a
one point in time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You thought the Boston Celtics were the 3rd best team in basketball.
Yeah. Like they could. I don't think it's. I mean,
it's in the locker room.
I think it's
on the bulletin board.
I think it's a lot less crazy than saying the Bucks are the 6th best team in basketball. But
I think. Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll just see how the standings play out.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Bucks become the 76ers, the new age 76ers, second round exit every year. Just saying.
Not thinkable, for sure.
I think it's probable. Okay, now I'm being a little crazy. So I don't have the Celtics at 3. I said I have the Suns. I do have them at 2. I'm not delusional.
Oh, really?
Oh, no, wow. It's because the Celtics
I was so prepared. I thought you were going to...
Oh, no. Okay, because the Celtics
I wouldn't even hate that.
To army crawl their way through wins against the Knicks. Yeah. The only time they've looked dominant was against the Wizards tonight.
Yeah.
Your Nuggets' ugly game was against the Jazz, where they were comfortably in control. The Grizzlies?
I'm playing the Jazz right now. Grizzlies were game 2.
Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Yes.
On the road.
That was your ugly win.
And we played terribly.
That's what I mean. You very clearly watched, this is just an off game.
But there was never really a point where it was the Grizzlies are going to win this. It was we had control of it basically the whole time, but it was ugly. Jokic that was one of his worst I think he had either 9 or 10 turnovers, which is very unlike Jokic. But you know what's awesome? In the midst of that, the one highlight that came out of that game was borderline one of Jokic's best passes ever. And what a lot of people are I've seen a lot of people in comment sections saying, how is this not the best pass of all time? People who aren't even Nuggets fans.
Because it happened game 2.
Did you see it? Do you know what pass I'm talking about?
I would imagine with how you're talking about it, it would immediately come. I watched the game. I mean, not watched, but hold on.
Yeah, so it was on an inbounds play. Where he's
against the Grizzlies?
Yeah, he's in the backcourt. Jokic is he's the inbounder. He gets handed the ball. I don't think he even touches the ball with his other hand, with his offhand. He grabs the ball with one hand.
Oh, I'm watching it right now.
Okay, yeah. I don't need to explain
He's the inbounder. And then just...
Did you see that?
How did I miss this when I watched the game? The ref just goes... And then he just, he did a no look for no reason.
Yep. And it was the 3/4 length of the court.
I feel I should have said that immediately, but yeah, that's.
And he's behind the well behind the 3-point line on the other side of the floor, and he throws a perfect lob. There's another camera angle. I don't know if you'll be able to find it. I saw it on Altitude's broadcast, but they have another angle where they show it from the opposite basket, so you can see Gordon catch the ball actually.
Yep.
Because the cameraman was not expecting needing to move all the way to the hoop that fast. You can tell, but he throws a perfect lob. Which also I saw a comment that was you can't call this a lob because this was a bullet.
It was just more his wrist movement was so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, those are my favorite Jokic passes when he does do that. When he's had a few where he jumps up and he he'll gracefully caress the ball off of the rim for a rebound and turn and just launch it down the court. All one motion.
I mean, even before he was the Jokic that we recognize, 2-time MVP, crazy Jokic.
Yeah.
What most people probably knew him as was quarterback Jokic.
Yeah.
Full court throwing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel most people knew. Oh, the Denver Center's Peyton Manning. LOL, ha ha ha.
So he's had a few passes throughout his career that I feel are in this category. I wouldn't say this is definitively the best Jokic pass. He's definitely had a few like that. But I just love that it's now that we're on national TV like a lot, and people have more. There's more eyes on the Nuggets now more than ever.
Like social media, also I think every team is getting better at clipping. Like even since COVID, every team has really like aggressively stepped up like how much they like spam out like look at this crazy thing our player did. So I think that is also helping, but them being in 30 some odd nationally televised games, they're also probably the worst team to be a fan of and not have like some sort of league pass.
Yeah.
Because of the altitude
and even
network.
League Pass, you can't be, that's the worst part is like with League Pass, you still can't get the games because we're in blackout zone. Like people who live in Denver and even me who lives in Omaha still counts as Altitude Sports Network's market. So it's blacked out on League Pass. Can't watch them on there. So I have to pay for a whole nother subscription for Fubo TV. I used to be able to use League Pass with a VPN, but now NBA.com has skirted around VPNs and they go by the location of your account, and you have to check in with that location on that account every so often to like continue to use your subscription, basically. So they're doing like the Hulu thing, how some streaming platforms have navigated the VPN thing.
That is actually crazy to me. Because I didn't think about it, because the NFL, North Platte, Nebraska, is the line where it turns from Denver to KC. But there's no basketball KC. But the fact that Omaha's not Minneapolis is wild.
Oh, no. We're all... So right now, like Omaha is in Minnesota's market, the Minneapolis market. It's in OKC's market, and it's in Denver's market. All three. So there's like some overlapping zones.
You'd think Chicago can't be that much further than OKC.
It can't. It probably isn't, but...
Because OKC's like...
Oh, wait, no. OKC's the closest out of all of those. OKC is definitely the closest city to... It's like 6 hours away from Omaha. Oh, yeah, you're over in Kearney, so that's...
My brain is breaking. Yes, I need to add 3 hours to my math to Denver. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Denver's definitely closer.
Yeah, 8 hours. From Omaha, Denver's 8 hours. Minneapolis is about 8 hours as well, and then OKC is 6 hours.
Yeah, okay.
It's another KC. It's like to KC, exactly halfway. Yeah.
But because like football's not that hard. It doesn't have like those hard. It's they like when they do their network maps or whatever. It's like regional-ish, and one of their hard region lines is North Platte. They draw like a circle, and North Platte's the in Denver territory, and everything else is not. It's in Kansas City normally or Green Bay. Green Bay and Minnesota games, a lot of the time, if Denver's playing, West and North Platte always gets Denver.
Do you know what channel Denver is on? Like what their RSN is, the Regional Sports Network? Because they're not on altitude. I know that, but
is it?
Is it like another Bally Sports one? It feels like most teams are some brand of not brand, but some region of the Bally Sports Network or whatever. Or Bali. I don't even know how to pronounce that. It's not a big deal. But yeah, that was just cool though. That was the worst game Jokic has played in like 9 months, and he threw that pass in a game that he had 9. I think it was 9 turnovers in.
I don't know if NFL has those.
Regional Sports Network?
Because you don't, like, each team has their own radio call. I don't think most teams have their own TV broadcast.
Oh, okay.
And maybe it's because there's less games, so the NFL, like...
Oh, that makes a lot more sense, yeah. Most of them are nationally televised.
All of them, in some fashion. The NFL doesn't do nationally, it's like nationally, regionally. Yeah, so like
Fox East and Fox West type of thing.
Kind of, but it's even... Fox, okay, here's a perfect example. Week 3, week 4, the San Francisco 49ers played the Arizona Cardinals. You would think that game would only be available on the West Coast, logically. Yeah. When the other games like New England, Dallas was the other game playing at the same time. What happened was the entire West Coast had San Francisco and Arizona, but West Iowa also got the San Francisco-Arizona game because Brock Purdy went to Iowa State. And there's enough people that watch San Francisco football because of Brock Purdy in West Iowa
that they change the channel board. Like, how does that even work?
It's just like what broadcast that your regional Fox gets sent.
Oh, so they can adjust that however they want.
Yeah, basically. It's like because that's like if a game goes to overtime and another game hasn't started yet.
Yeah, but they still like display it as this is Fox West and this is Fox East. Like they split it in half basically, but they can adjust how.
Sports. It doesn't say West or East. It's just Fox Sports.
On streaming, it does. Like on the channel, not on like the screen, but like on the channel guide, like it'll say Fox East. I've seen that. If it says Fox Sports East and Fox Sports West, where like I'll have the two different games of the same time slot happening on different coasts or whatever.
Well, a lot of the time it's not even the same time slot. I always just see it like, because like CBS has like 6 games going on at one time. Sometimes.
Like on the same channel? On the same network?
They're all on Fox. And the way that Fox is, it's not Fox Sports 1. It's Fox affiliates. So it's on cable. So it's like I'm trying to like your 10-11 I think is a Fox something. No, that's an NBC something. What's the Fox? KLLN?
KNLN?
Well, KLIN is out of Lincoln. That's 10-11. KGIN is Grand Island.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I don't think this is we should probably
KFXL. Dummy me. Anyway,
I've never even heard of that.
KFXL. Yeah. I'm sorry. Anyway, that was football, basketball broadcast differently. Hopefully all that is cut and that's all. But Denver Nuggets, definitely I think the best team in the NBA now. Memphis was their one ugly game, and that's just because they had like an end of the game breakdown. Like they didn't have a good game, and they still were like, yeah, we're going to win this. And then almost blew it at the end. Keyword on the almost, not really at all.
I don't even remember that. What happened at the end?
They had like a double-digit lead at the end, if I remember. Also, these random notes I'm looking at.
So what was the final score?
108-104.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Okay. Yeah, it got pretty close.
4 games now. Okay.
Yeah, tonight they played the 4th.
Because they destroyed the Thunder.
Oh, okay.
They comfortably beat the Lakers. Thunder was yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Jazz is tonight. Yeah, I watched.
Jazz is happening or happened, whatever.
It started at 8, so it's probably still going. It's about done though. But yeah, I'll watch that after we get done here. Yeah, but the Nuggets though, so yeah, that Grizzlies game, it was definitely ugly for a lot of the players on the team, mainly Jokic. Like there was just a huge difference between, because I saw some people saying like, oh, the Lakers are going to miss the playoffs and the Grizzlies are going to be the 3 seed because of like, they were like, the Grizzlies are playing the Nuggets a lot harder. It's like, that is not what's happening right now. No. If you watch the Lakers game, the Nuggets were like, we're not going to lose this game. Like, because they were like making a statement game, a statement like game 1, because they knew the Lakers were coming hard with it. Memphis was obviously the Jokic syndrome of like the Grizzlies out without like their best player and one of their other best players. Second game of a long season. I'm not really too fired up for it. And that is exactly how almost every player played. So other than the really young guys who came in off the bench, like a Peyton Watson, who has been ridiculous he's not going to stop being a ridiculous shot blocker. Like he stuffed Derrick Rose twice in a row on the same play. That just has to feel amazing to like as a young guy, to be like, I just blocked the crap out of Derrick Rose twice on the same possession.
Yeah.
Peyton Swatson, everybody. But yeah, so I think that'll probably do it for today's episode. We are going to try somehow to get out of this rut that we are in of getting every episode to go 2 hours plus. We need to work on that.
Well, this one's a lot of cuts. This one's a lot of junk.
Yeah. So we'll try to get better at that to better serve you guys as listeners. But yeah, please check out the shorts on TikTok and all those platforms, as well as patreon.com/hoop3 and buy me a coffee as well. All of the links of those things should be in the description of the show and the episode, wherever you're listening to this.
5 stars on Spotify helps, or wherever you're listening. 5 stars would be thankful. Appreciated. I think hit everything else.
Yeah, so I would just say that you guys should stay happy. You should stay healthy. And we will talk to you guys next episode.
Peace!